This has been the longest saga that I can ever remember in the NFL. We had Rashee Rice dealing with this issue, and this popped up on the scene, I want to say 15 months ago. And then if y'all remember, we got the report like a month ago saying like, oh, okay, he's going to have his hearing halfway through the season, and we aren't going to get word on what the official suspension is until like October, which scared a lot of people because it's like, oh, crap. Well, I don't want to have him suspended when I'm having to deal with the bye weeks. I don't want to have him suspended when I am having to worry about him potentially missing the fantasy football playoffs. But now that's not going to be the case. Now you have Rashee Rice suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season. So the first thing that I honestly want to do personally, and maybe this is very selfish, maybe we shouldn't spend any time on this, but maybe you relate, is I want to go ahead and I want to see who has Rashee Rice in the flock league, and I want to make sure that I do not have to play this dude after week 6, because I would assume that Rashee Rice is in a spot where you assume he is a wide receiver 1 in any game that he plays. I just pulled this up, and in the flock league specifically, it looks like Nick, the editor, has him. And he is his wide receiver 3 behind Brian Thomas and Tyreek Hill. And real quick, let me just make sure I know whenever I'm playing Nick, the editor. That way, if I get to play him like week 4 and I don't have to go up against Rashee Rice, that will be absolutely golden for me. But it looks like I actually have to play him after the suspension, which sucks because ultimately, if you are looking at Rashee Rice, this is a wide receiver that was absolutely dominant in the games that he was healthy after his breakout. Because I know that we all remember what he did at the very beginning of last season, but what you also need to consider is you need to consider what Rashee Rice did at the end of his rookie year. Because if we go through and if we look at what we had last season for Rice, this was a 3-game sample where he dropped 17.3, 18.5, and 29.1 fantasy points. But this was the continued trend that you had at the very end of his rookie season, where the end of his rookie year, obviously ignore week 18, the Chiefs didn't need to play. But starting in week 12, Rashee Rice drops 25 points, 14 points, 18 points, 24 points, 12 points, and 17.5. And let's go ahead and let's actually pull up what Rashee Rice managed to do in the NFL playoffs, because we do not have the playoff stats loaded up on flockfantasy.com. Maybe it's something that we can look to add, but I mean, realistically, there are very few teams like the Chiefs where you have that extended sample of what you can see in 3-4 playoff games every year. But we go through and we pull up what Rashee Rice did in the NFL playoffs as well. You can see him in the wild card game in 2023. He had 130 receiving yards and the receiving touchdown. And then he actually averaged about 7 targets per game in the final 3 weeks. This wasn't nearly as good as a playoff run as what you had maybe with somebody like Xavier Worthy at the end of last season. But regardless, Rashee Rice has been a wide receiver 1 post-breakout when he's been healthy. Now, of course, if we're looking at where we are going to be ranking Rashee Rice, it's going to be dependent on a couple different things. First thing is, you cannot sit here and you cannot look at Rice in a vacuum by one ranking and say this is going to be where it applies across all of fantasy football. Because to be honest with you, if we were looking at what we had with Rashee Rice in underdog drafts, this actually helps his cost. Because in those underdog tournaments, so much of the prize pool is just up for grabs in weeks 15, 16, 17, that really you just need to be maximizing points in those final 3 weeks. And people were worried that Rashee Rice was going to potentially be suspended until week 15 if he didn't see that suspension until halfway through the year. But now you're in a spot where you're not having to deal with that in underdog tournaments. So I actually think that Rashee Rice is going to be a little bit more exciting in that style format. However, in your regular redraft league, if you're in an ESPN draft, if you're in a sleeper draft, if you're in a Yahoo draft, if you're in an NFL fantasy draft, which that's what I make all the rankings for on flockfantasy.com, this is a pretty tough spot. Because if you aren't allowed to put suspended players in your IR, which I know is going to be dependent on how your commissioner set up your league. For me in the flock league, you can't put suspended players on your IR. It's going to be very tough where you have Rashee Rice missing the first 6 weeks. It's going to limit the amount of players that you're able to get off the waiver wire in the early part of the season, and it will hamper your roster construction overall. So whenever I'm making these rankings for flockfantasy.com and specifically for your ESPN, Yahoo, NFL fantasy drafts, I would probably go ahead and I would actually be moving Rashee Rice below Jamison Williams and George Pickens. I think we're looking at Rashee Rice around wide receiver 29. And then every week that goes by, Rashee Rice is slowly going to be climbing up these rankings. Like by the time when we realistically get to week 6, get to week 7, and Rashee Rice is coming back fully healthy from the injury and no suspension risk whatsoever, then at that point, you'll see Rashee Rice in my rest of season rankings in week 6, if you got the season pass, here hovering around like wide receiver 13, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 11. He will be that low end wide receiver 1 for me. And Xavier Worthy is going to be almost the exact opposite, where Xavier Worthy through the first 6 weeks of the season is going to be a player that you absolutely need to get in your lineup every single week. And then every week that we get closer to the Rashee Rice addition to this offense, Worthy may just slide down these rankings as we go through, where Worthy may end up being like a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 for me by the time we get to week 6, week 7, and Rashee Rice is back in this offense. So again, I'm going to be updating these rankings every single week. There are very rarely instances where I can kind of map out exactly how players' values are going to go as the season progresses. And obviously, if Worthy turns into a turd from the very jump, then at that point, yes, he's going to have to slide down maybe earlier than I expect. Or if Worthy breaks out and he looks like a top 10 wide receiver right out the gate, then maybe his value maintains or maybe even goes up a bit. But if I were projecting this out right now, I would say that on the site, you will see in my rankings, Xavier Worthy start very high, wide receiver 19 rest of season. Rashee Rice start pretty low, wide receiver 29 rest of season. And every week that goes by, Rice may move up just a bit and Worthy may move down a bit. And let's see if we need to be making any adjustments with Adam Thielen. I know a lot of people have been asking about like, oh, Adam Thielen got traded to the Vikings. Is this something that we need to be monitoring for Ted McMillan? Ted McMillan has no impact with Adam Thielen, in my opinion. If you were looking at Ted, he was going to be the alpha wide receiver no matter what. Ted McMillan was almost locked and loaded for a 25% team target share. I have Ted McMillan, wide receiver 23. If you really wanted to jump him up over DK Metcalf and Devonta Smith, you do you're allowed to. The impact that Adam Thielen trade is going to have, plus the addition of them cutting Hunter Renfrow, it does really thin out the depth of this wide receiver room, and it makes Xavier Legette and it makes Jalen Coker more interesting. So I actually moved Xavier Legette up to about wide receiver 59 in my rankings. We're going to go wide receiver 58, right behind like Keenan Allen, Luther Burden, Rashad Bateman, Brandon Ayuk, Rashid Shaheed. So Legette becomes a little more exciting as the depth piece. And then we're also going to go ahead and move up Jalen Coker as well, where at this point, I think I would rather have Jalen Coker over guys like Joshua Palmer, Adam Thielen, Michael Wilson, Pat Bryant, Jack Besh, honestly, Deonta Thornton. And I think Jalen Coker moves up to about wide receiver 68. The thing with these super deep wide receivers is they realistically don't make a difference in your ESPN league. They don't make a difference in your Yahoo league. You're always going to have wide receivers like Legette and Jalen Coker that you could go to the waiver wire for. You're always going to have a wide receiver like Adam Thielen you can go to the waiver wire for. The only relevant thing that they apply is going to be those underdog best ball drafts where you're going to see 80 wide receivers get drafted and you have no waiver wire. But ultimately, the Adam Thielen trade impacts the depth wide receivers in Carolina a hell of a lot more than it impacts Ted McMillan, because Ted was going to ball regardless. And let me see if there's anything else that we need to discuss before we get into questions. One, I'll say, of course, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit the like button. If we hit 100 likes in the stream, we're going to be giving away free questions on flockfantasy.com. And also, the second thing is, if you do not already have the season pass, it's still available. It's going to be the number one tool to make sure that you win your league this year. Whether you haven't done your draft yet and you need those draft guides and you need those draft sheets, whether you've already done your draft and you need the trade calculator, the My Teams page, the updated rankings through the entire year, it's the number one tool to help you win your fantasy football league. And it's only $34 this season, by far and away the cheapest price that we've ever had. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to be getting me to answer start sit trade questions for free. in these live streams, which we are doing every single day. And again, it used to be $97, but here it's only $34 for you to get access to absolutely everything until January 1st. And then every time we hit 100 likes on the stream, like I said, we are going to be giving away free start sit questions and free trade questions from people in the live chat. But I think that's it for the wide receiver updates that we need to make. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to dive into some of these teams on flockfantasy.com. And at the same time, I want to answer some of your questions as well. And one thing, if you had been having a difficult time linking your Yahoo League with flockfantasy.com, they were previously rate limiting us. Too many of y'all were trying to do it at once, but the dev team grinded away and they got that sorted out and fixed. But it looks like we already hit 200 likes on the stream. So we're going to give away a couple free start sit questions and a couple free trade questions. So please go to the chat right now, drop your flockfantasy.com username. And if you use code FLOCK, I'll be able to look you up and I'll be able to get you some free questions for this live stream or maybe another live stream if you want to save them and you don't have a team just yet. But obviously you can save these vouchers to use them at any point you want during the season. And I'm absolutely disgusting. I just got back from a run, so we are going to be covered in pimples from not showering. So we're about to live stream for 4 or 5 hours answering questions. But let's see. Our first winner is going to be Chill A. Let me go ahead and see if I can find you. And if so, we'll get you set up with some of these free questions. Chill A, I got you. Yeah, had a free account, so there shouldn't have been any vouchers with your account yet. But now you do have a couple stuff sitting with you. Let's pick another winner. We got Shatsy is going to be somebody else that we need to pick up here. Shatsy. Let me see if I can find you. If you did not use code FLOCK, I'm not able to find you on my user list. Okay. Yeah, this is not a username, so we'll move on to our next person. And we got Books. Okay, Books, found you. This is a free account, so you shouldn't have had any free vouchers yet, but just got sent over to you. But let's go ahead and let's now dive into this first team that we are going to be looking at. This is coming out from Simon Thomas. My guy, I really do appreciate you. Let me send you over some free questions as well. That way we can make sure we get covered through the year. And I will say, just for future reference, I feel really bad if I ever see somebody like spend $79 on a team review. I would highly recommend just getting the annual Mother Flocker package, because then you're going to get access to the site for 365 days a year. Plus, you'll get a free team review, free trade question, and free start sit question anyway. So it's just going to be a much better value for you than if you were to just buy a team review straight up. So yeah, please make sure you don't just go spend $79 on a team review. But anyway, this is a 10-team deeper league, though, which I like to see. I mean, you can get a decent amount of wide receivers into your starting lineup here. So even if it's a 10-team format and there'll be better options on the waiver wire, still running back and wide receiver depth is going to be a lot more important here in a start 9 format. Now, the first thing that I can immediately see is you have players out there on the waiver wire at quarterback and tight end that are great. Like you have Brock Purdy you can go and pick up, which obviously we don't need to be rostering the second quarterback when we have Lamar Jackson, and the waiver wire is just absolutely loaded at QB. So for the week 7 bye for Lamar, we could always go out there and we could always just pick somebody up for that singular week. Or at the same time, if you were to get a Lamar Jackson injury, we can just effectively stream the quarterback position where it's not going to be too big of a stress for us. But I will say an immediate waiver wire move that I would personally want to make is I would want to go ahead and I would want to drop Hunter Henry and I would want to pick up Dallas Goedert. I think that if you look at the range of outcomes for Goedert this year, given the long track record that we have with his target share remaining high in this Eagles offense, if there's any progression for the passing volume in Philadelphia, I think you're going to be in a really good spot. So I would go ahead and I would drop Henry and pick up Dallas Goedert. And then when we're looking at quarterback, obviously we're not doing anything. Going over to running back, we have Chase Brown, Kyron Williams. So a solid running back 1, running back 2 combo in a 10-team league. Pacheco, super strong RB3, Braylon Allen. Honestly, this bench kind of looks like mine in the Flock League. I also have Braylon Allen, Nick Chubb, Really like to see that. We have the handcuff with Brian Robinson. We have Jerome Ford potentially as a running back that could be usable early in the season with the Judkins situation. Going over and looking at the waiver wire, there are definitely no running back swaps that I'd be looking to make. And then going over to receiver, we have St. Brown, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Travis Hunter, Josh Downs, Chris Godwin, Keon Coleman, and Romeo Doubs. If we were looking at making any swaps here, maybe you move off Romeo Doubs and go get like Leggett with the Adam Thielen trade. But the reality of the situation is I don't think that there are too many interesting running backs or wide receivers that you have on the waiver wire. So you're not going to be super inclined to go out there and make any of those waiver wire swaps. But if we were looking at making trades, I think it would be centered around us trying to send two players together to get an upgrade at wide receiver 2. Like if we are looking at this, while it's a start 9 league, we start Lamar and Dallas Goedert at quarterback, tight end. We're going to start 7 starters across running back and receiver. We have Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore as 5 starts that are going to be very easy. I think Pacheco's probably our 6th start. And then we're going to be going with like Travis Hunter, I guess, early season, even though we're a little bit worried about just jamming in the rookie right out the gate. But realistically, Downs coming off the hamstring, Chris Godwin's not healthy. So you know what? As we sit here, I'd say if this was a start 7 league, start 8 league, I'd for sure want to be selling some of this wide receiver depth to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup. However, with this being a start 9 format instead, I actually think that you put yourself in a really good position when it comes to what you have with enough starters to get you through the season. Like, well, what the hell could you possibly do with this team? I think that you've done an absolute phenomenal job adjusting to your league format. I like the fact because it was a start 9 league, we punted tight ends. Especially in a start 9 league, I don't know if you can afford to get the elite quarterback and the elite tight end. Maybe if you have like a big time Travis Hunter breakout and Chris Godwin comes back from the injury, then at that point, if you wanted to try to sell like DJ Moore and Dallas Goedert and go try to get a tight end upgrade, like there, it could be potentially interesting, but you're definitely not going to be able to do it until we get the Travis Hunter breakout and or Chris Godwin back. But also you kind of want to hold on to some of this depth as well, because while we can sit here and we can pencil in Isaiah Pacheco for a flex spot, it's no guarantee that we are going to get that big time Isaiah Pacheco breakout. So I think that you've done a phenomenal job optimizing for your league format specifically. I think really the only thing that we're going to be doing here is dropping Hunter Henry, picking up Dallas Goedert. And I think you probably want to sit on your hands just a bit when it comes to trades, knowing that wide receiver depth is very important in your league. And we're kind of waiting for Chris Godwin to come back and potentially a Travis Hunter breakout. But I really do appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And yeah, thank you so much again. Let me hook you up with another free trade question because I know we didn't have many suggestions for your team because I really liked it. But if you have any trades that come across your plate during the season, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you, my friend. Now, let me actually move over to some of the quicker stuff. Let's go and look at the trade, start, sit, and super messages. And then we'll get back to the team reviews. And it looks like we just hit 300 likes on the stream. So we're going to do a giveaway. If you want a free start sit question, trade question, go ahead and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. But as we wait for that, Berger is here with the start sit. I would honestly start Worthy over Harrison week 1 now that you have the Rashee Rice suspension. But honestly, for the flex spot, you're going to go ahead. You're going to play Marvin Harrison regardless. You're going to jam both these guys in. And this looks like a phenomenal lineup. Now, Harrison coming out with a trade. Here, this is a 1 quarterback format. So to be honest with you, Lawrence, Love, May, Goff, they're all about the same. Doesn't really matter. Looking at Kenneth Walker to Chase Brown, you're getting a big time upgrade. Tet McMillan versus Aaron Jones, JSCM, give me Tet McMillan. But honestly, I think we would probably just take the best player in this deal. I think you're going to go with the Chase Brown side. But for me personally, in a 1 quarterback league, I don't think that these quarterback upgrades matter that much. Unless it was a super flex league, then of course we'd be very excited about it. But let's pick a random winner here. We got Law MVP Jackson. Okay. So Law MVP Jackson. Let me see if I can find you on my users page. Law MVP Jackson. I got you. So it looks like you already got the season pass. So you should have a bunch of free vouchers in your account already. But let me go through and let me set you up with, actually, I don't know if you got the season pass. Never mind. But you should have free vouchers in your account now regardless. Now, let's move this over and get our next question. This is Louis. This is a trade where we're sending Kyler, Henderson, Debo for Mahomes, JCM, and Drake London. London's by far and away the best player in this deal. Debo, I'd rather have over JCM just slightly now that Terry McLaurin's back. I'd rather have Mahomes over Kyler. So yeah, we're going to go with the Mahomes and London side here relatively easily. I mean, I love Henderson, but he's not in the London tier yet. Now, zero cool. We need a starting lineup here. We have DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Tony Pollard to choose from. To be honest with you, now that you have no Spears, I think you're just going to be stuck playing Tony Pollard week 1. I'm a little bit hesitant with it, though, just because it's a brutal matchup that you have going up against the Denver Broncos. Now, JB coming out with a trade here. Tucker Kraft is nothing more than just a waiver wire tight end in an 8-team league. Like, this is an 8-team league. So on the waiver wire right now, you have Josh Downs, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, Jaden Reed, Keon Coleman, Jaden Higgins. So don't worry about the depth at this at all. I mean, the roster spot where you can pick up Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt's worth just as much. And I would rather have Trey McBride over Amari Hampton in an 8-team league. Again, where we just want the elite onesies because depth's easy to come by. Now, Tuba Chaser says, should I package Higgins in a quarterback or Kraft to upgrade QB tight end to ride it out? What player would you want? So you're saying Higgins in a quarterback or Kraft. So if we were looking at this, it's a 1 quarterback format. If you are going ahead and trading Higgins, you're left over with London, Chase, Puka. So you can definitely afford it. If you were trading T. Higgins and Kyler Murray, though, I would need one of the top 4 quarterbacks. I would preferably want Allen or Lamar. If you can't get Allen or Lamar, then we're going to be going Daniels or Hurts. And if you can't get either one of those guys, then you're going to sit on your hands and you're not going to make a deal. Now, Shane F says, if they say no, do I try to trade Pickens instead of DJ Moore? Yeah, for me, I think Pickens and DJ Moore, tomato, I'd sell either guy to get a deal done if you really wanted one. And I would view both veteran wide receivers comparable to James Conner. And for me personally, I think that Drake London is a tier ahead of Kyren Williams. So for me, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and we will take the Drake London and James Conner side of this. Now, Huge Sipper says 6th or 10th pick in a 10-team league in a full PPR redraft format. I think you go with the 6th pick because the 6th pick in a 10-team league, you have a chance that you can still get one of those like guys like Devon Achane making it back to you because there are 4 fewer picks at a turn as opposed to a 12-teamer. So 6th pick, you're going to get like CeeDee Lamb and like Devon Achane. I think you go with that. Okay. Now, Apes coming through. This is Kyren London versus Kamara and Malik Neighbors. I would rather have Kyren over Kamara. I'd rather have Neighbors over London. I think Neighbors is the best player in this deal. Can y'all please spam the chat? What side would y'all rather have in this? For me, it does seem like a trade that just kind of comes down to your personal preference, and I'm not going to fault anybody for either direction. But maybe I'm wrong here. If we hear a bunch of people in the chat tell me like, Mason, you're crazy, you just very easily want Malik Neighbors, I'll be quick to change my mind. But let me know what the chat thinks. We got Kyren London, Neighbors, London, Neighbors, London, Neighbors, London, Neighbors, Neighbors, London, Neighbors, London. So it looks like most people are on the Drake London side. Again, I think Neighbors the best player in the deal, but I do think that Kyron's a tier ahead of Alvin Kamara. So for me, I think it's your personal preference, but if everybody in the chat's saying Kyron and London, you go Kyron and London. Now, Minor Chopped coming out with the start set. Here, week 1, it does look like Jalen Warren's probably going to be the starting running back for Pittsburgh. But honestly, I think you say F it and you start Travis Hunter. Like full PPR format, we've seen the ceiling for Jalen Warren, and it's not much more than an RB3. I know that we're a little concerned to just get Travis Hunter in week 1, but still, we're going to run with it. Now, RJ says, appreciate any advice. Thanks for the GOAT. Really appreciate you. I think Mike Evans is just an auto start. Like, I think, actually, I'm sorry, we're going to be putting Mike Evans and T. Higgins in here. Full PPR format. T. Higgins projects being the highest volume passing attack in the league. Last time we saw him, I mean, he just went out there and won people millions of dollars on Underdog in week 17. And Mike Evans, you have no Godwin and you have no Jalen McMillan week 1, and he's playing alongside a rookie Igbuka. Now, Rainman says, I'm locking in the running back space and we have a ton of wide receivers. If that's the case, you just take Jonathan Taylor. It's a half PPR format, half PPR league. I would rather go ahead and I'd rather start Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I'd rather draft Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather start Jonathan Taylor. Full PPR format would be a little bit tougher, but half PPR, you take Taylor over Ladd for sure. Drippy says, fine, here's my money. Team name is Drippy. I am very sorry, my friend. I can't see your roster if you submit a super message. Super message are just meant for like specific questions. I'm going to hook you up with a free start sit question just in case you wanted to follow it up with the start sit. Now, Aiden coming through with the trade. This is CMC, Caleb Johnson versus Chase Brown and Trevion Henderson. I'd rather have McCaffrey. Like, obviously, Trevion Henderson's a tier ahead of Caleb Johnson, or a couple tiers ahead. But if you can get that bona fide elite round 1 player, I think it's a very reasonable price tag. This is a 10-team league with only 1 flex spot. 10-team league with only 1 flex. You for sure go with the best option. Now, D-Lou says, needed quarterback wide receiver help. Any advice on upgrading wide receiver after this trade is hopefully approved? So here we are making a pivot from Kenneth Walker to Terry McLaurin, which I'd rather have Walker, but it's not that far off. And you were trading Scadaboo and Brock Purdy for Jaden Daniels. You are winning this by a country mile. And then after this, at wide receiver, you're going to have T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Godwin. So honestly, I don't think you need to upgrade wide receiver. I think you just make this trade and you made off like a bandit. Now, you're happy with the start sit question. Here for the flex, we are looking at Breece Hall, Devonta Smith, or Tet McMillan. I'm going to go with a Breece Hall week 1. You're playing in what should be one of the lowest scoring games on the slate. But Devonta Smith, the Eagles are pretty heavy favorites. We don't know how often they're going to be passing. Tet McMillan, Igbuka, they are rookies. So, I mean, it would be nice to just actually see them on the field before we jammed them in over a player like Breece Hall that you most likely took earlier in your draft. Now, jam coming through, we have Hampton, Tet McMillan versus Harvey, Kenneth Walker, and Ricky Pearsall. I would rather have Hampton over Kenneth Walker easily. I'd rather have Tet McMillan over RJ Harvey. It's a 10-team single flex format, so a player like Ricky Pearsall is not going to matter much. This is easily the Amari Hampton and Tet McMillan side for me. Easily. Now, scenarios coming through with the trade. We're packaging Jordan Mason and Darnell Mooney to get to Igbuka. Igbuka is the best player in this deal. And honestly, it's not like Darnell Mooney is that much better than a waiver wire option. Like, to go ahead and look at what's on your waiver wire right now, you're going to be able to pick up Trey Benson for free. So would I rather have Igbuka and Trey Benson or Darnell Mooney and Jordan Addison? It's Igbuka and Trey Benson easily. Landon with the start set. Here at running back, I'm going to be playing, it's a full PPR format. I'll play RJ Harvey over, dear God. I mean, the thing is with Harvey, they're 7.5 point favorites. So you assume that they're able to run the ball a considerable amount. I'm going to go Tyler Warren over Britton Strange. And then down in the flex, I'm going to go Olave over Ricky Pearsall and Travis Hunter. However, if you have no Jawan Jennings week 1, then I think you play Ricky Pearsall instead. Now, Dylan, we need to start between RJ Harvey and Jerome Ford. We're going to go RJ Harvey, even if we're expecting a smaller workload at the beginning of the year. And then between Ricky Pearsall, Tet McMillan, I think we go Tet. The only scenario in which we'd pivot over to Pearsall is if you don't have Jawan Jennings. Now, Amon Demon Time coming through with the trade. This is Genty, George Pickens versus Derrick Henry, Tet McMillan. Full PPR format, so I'd rather have Genty over Henry, but I would also rather have Tet over Pickens. So for me personally, I think that this is going to be one of those perfect examples that it's just a personal preference between you. Can y'all please let me know in the live chat right now, what side would you rather have here? Ashton Genty and George Pickens or Derrick Henry and Tet McMillan? Because again, very similar to what we looked at with the trade a couple minutes ago. With these personal preference type deals, I would just kind of like to opt to just get the chat opinion and go in that direction. We got Genty, Henry, Genty, Henry, Genty, Henry, Genty, Henry, Genty. So it looks like the majority of people are on the Derrick Henry side. So for me, personal preference, but if the chat's saying Derrick Henry, I think you go Derrick Henry. Now, Salam coming through with a trade where we're sending Swift, Tyreek, Downs for Bucky Irving. This is a 10-team league, so there should be decent options on the waiver wire. Let's see what's on waivers real quick. You'd also be picking up Tank Bigsby and Braylon Allen for free. So if it's like DeAndre Swift, Tyreek Hill, Josh Downs versus Bucky Irving, Tank Bigsby, Braylon Allen, I'm going to go with the Bucky Irving side. I think if you like throw this into the trade calculator, it probably says the Swift, Tyreek, Josh Downs side wins. But again, because it's a 10-team format, those players off the waiver wire are just more exciting than they would be in a 12-teamer. Now, Scott coming through with the trade. Here, this is Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams versus Gibbs and Trevion Henderson. I think we're going to go with Gibbs and Henderson. You're actually seeing some high-stakes drafts right now. Trevion Henderson going ahead of Kyron Williams, which I wouldn't agree with. I still rank Kyron ahead of Henderson, but I don't think that they're that far off given how exciting we have seen Kyron look early in the year. But Gibbs to Puka Nacua, completely different tier player, so we're going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, now Tom Hicks coming through with the trade. Achane versus Malik Neighbors. Here, this is a 12-team double flex format. So because it's a 12-team start 8 full PPR league, I think you go with Malik Neighbors. If you look at some of our draft sheets, if you were like in a 10-team single flex league, I think you'd go Achane because wide receiver depth matters less, but wide receiver is going to be very important for your league. Now, start sit question. Down here, the best option on the bench is going to be like, I guess, Luther Burden for week 1, which there's no way I play Luther Burden over any of these options in your starting lineup. I mean, I am a little bit concerned for us to have to play JCM week 1, but I'm rooting for you for sure. Okay. Well, let me refresh and see if we have any more questions. Welcome to being a YouTube member, Rise Rats. And let's see real quick. Okay, we have more questions in here, but it looks like we had 400 likes in the stream. So please, if you have an account on flockfantasy.com with code FLOCK and you want free start sit question, trade questions, spam your username in the chat and we'll go ahead and we'll get you set up. Now, Eric says, trying to consolidate wide receiver due to being over the roster limit. Rome is the other guy that's my main target. Okay, so I think, yeah, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Garrett Wilson. And this is 8-team league. 8-team league, the best waiver wire options, Josh Downs. Would I rather have Terry McLaurin and Rome Odunze or Garrett Wilson and Josh Downs? Garrett Wilson and Josh Downs. It'd be very different if this was like a 12-team multiple flex league where it's like, oh, okay, Terry could straight up outscore Garrett Wilson and you're getting Rome for free. But the thing is, Rome in an 8-team league isn't going to matter nearly as much. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's pick somebody from the chat real quick to win it. We got J Ledge 1. Okay. J Ledge 1. Okay. I cannot find you on the site, my friend. I don't know if you signed up with code FLOCK, but you're not on my users. So we'll move to the next guy. My guy, Chris, which I found you. Looks like you have a free account, so you shouldn't have had any vouchers in it yet. But now you are set up with a couple free vouchers, so you should be able to send in questions if you want. Okay. Miles says, damn, I'm not signed up. If you're not signed up, why the hell are you putting your name in? But Lal Farrow says, wide receiver 2, should I go with Hunter Worthy, Zay Flowers, Rome Odunze, or Keon Coleman? I think post Rashee Rice news, you're for sure going to go ahead. You're going to start Xavier Worthy over Travis Hunter. No Rice week 1. Xavier Worthy is going to be an absolute must start play. You just go ahead and you jam him in. Now, it's not me, Z, coming through. I'm assuming that you're asking that we need one start between these players. And if we need one start between these guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Cortland Sutton week 1. I think Trevion Henderson will be your play through the majority of the year, but I think we want to see at least first what the split looks like between him and Ramondre Stevenson. And we'd assume obviously that Henderson's able to get better as the season goes on. And then also if we're looking at Calvin Ridley just has an absolute brutal matchup going up against the Denver Broncos for the first week. So I want to be that excited to start him. Now, Jay Linosi coming through here for the flex. We're looking at Egbuka or Rome Odunze. I'm going to go with Rome week 1. Again, with the rookies, I am going to be a little more cautious unless they're by far and away the best plays. We are going to operate under the assumption that we need to see it before we believe it in terms of our starting lineup. I like trading for Egbuka for the late season upside, but to start him out the gate would be a little bit reckless in my opinion. Now, Bailey coming through. We need to consider Worthy or Pollard for the flex. We're going to go with Xavier Worthy over Pollard. I think Pollard, yes, you have the 3-down workload with no Spears, but you have a tough matchup going up against Denver. Projects to be the worst offense in the league week 1. I'm looking at what we have here for Johnny Boy. We're going to go Tucker Kraft over Dallas Goedert, assuming that Jordan Love's good to go week 1. And then for the flex spots, I think we're going to take the combination of Marvin Harrison and Xavier Worthy for wide receiver and flex. And we'll be benching J-Mo and DJ Moore. Now, Jan coming through with the start set. Here, running back, we are going to be playing Trevion Henderson. I mean, Judkins won't be good to go week 1 anyway. And then down in the flex, we're going to take the combination of Waddle and most likely Tet McMillan. I'm not going to be able to start Deebo Samuel over Tet, even if we want to be a little hesitant on the rookies. Now, Raw Doggin coming through. We're looking at Xavier Worthy or Egbuka for the flex week 1. You for sure are going to go ahead. You're going to play Xavier Worthy. Honestly, I would have played Worthy over Egbuka, even if Rice was good to go. Now, Oscar coming through. This is Brock Purdy and Montgomery versus Josh Allen and Nick Chubb. This is the Josh Allen side and not even remotely close. Like, I have Josh Allen in the flock league, and if somebody offered me Montgomery and Purdy for him, I would laugh them out the building. Prince coming through. This is Tyrone Tracy, Xavier Worthy. You know I'm an absolute A massive Xavier Worthy fan, hook 'em horns. But ultimately, at the end of the day, even with the Rashee Rice suspension, Brock Bowers is in a completely different tier. Please go ahead and please just get Bowers here. Okay, now let's move this over. Runny Lamp with the start set. Here, quarterback, we're going to be going with, tough matchup for Fields. I think we go Purdy week 1. I would prefer to see more weapons be good to go in San Fran. Worthy auto start here at wide receiver 2 for the first week. And then I know that we're a little hesitant to get the rookies in, but Amari and Hampton and Ashton Jeanty are going to be the exceptions to that rule, where we're looking at elite running back prospects with workhorse type potential that you don't need to wait whatsoever. You just go ahead and you get them in. Okay. Ray Charles says, do I make this trade, move on from Rice, add power/depth and trust May, or hold steady with Daniels? Okay. So Daniels to London, give me London. I would rather a Brees over Rice post-suspension. So I think you make this deal. My only hesitation with it is it's a very deep league. So because it's a very deep league, I would love to keep Zach Charbonnet if we could. Because I think Zach Charbonnet here in a 14-team league with multiple flex spots actually could hit your lineup. And then obviously if you get a Walker injury, he wins you the league. But I think this is a fair price point to go ahead and make, to go get the best players in it. Now, Celeris says, I did this morning. I got the CMC side. What are your thoughts? Okay, so McCaffrey, Terry, Olave versus Mason, Pickens, and Amon-Ra. Okay, so you flipped it. You put it in backwards. I'd rather have, Amon-Ra versus CMC in your format's about the same. I'd rather have Terry over Pickens. I'd rather have Olave over Jordan Mason. So I would take the CMC side. But yeah, you put that's what they received and not what I received. But regardless, it's fine. Because I think you're staying neutral with the top player in the deal. CMC Amon-Ra is up to you. And then you're upgrading at the 2 other slots. Now, Sever says, should I always go with the tier list over positional need? Not always. I would highly recommend using the draft sheets that we have posted on the site. Because with those draft sheets, they are going to take into account your league settings. And in some of your leagues, like a non-PPR 10-team league, there the running backs and elite quarterbacks are going to be so much higher than the wide receivers in comparison to what we have with our tier list posted on YouTube. So definitely don't always go with the tier list over positional need. You definitely need to take into account what you have when it comes to your specific league settings. Now, it looks like we're about to hit 500 likes. So if you want to do another giveaway where we give away more free start set and trade questions, go down there, hit the like button. But Harris says downgrade from CMC over Walker, but CMC's future health. So this is a redraft league. So frankly, I view the downgrade from CMC to AJ Brown, and we're slightly downgrading as well from JSN to Kenneth Walker. So no, this would be a horrible trade. Please, for the love of God, keep McCaffrey and JSN. Now, Peter Grifford coming through. We are moving this in a dynasty league, downgrading from Caleb to Lawrence. We are upgrading from Jordan Mason, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins to Jahmyr Gibbs. I think you go ahead and you probably make this deal if we have a very strong team. If we have a very strong team, I went to Gibbs' side of this. And yeah, looking at our squad, we would be left over with Bijan, Gibbs at running back, and that's about it. Wide receiver, we have Xavier Worthy, Egbuka, Rice, Amari, and then we have Schultz. It looks like it's actually, it's not a dynasty league. Never mind. It's a redraft league. And you have some running backs out there on the waiver wire. So the redraft league, yeah, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to get Jahmyr Gibbs because in that case, the Caleb DeLawrence fall isn't massive. So yeah, redraft format, definitely go get Gibbs. I don't know why the site was pulling it in as if it was dynasty. But yeah, it looks like we had 500 likes on the stream. So go ahead and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And if you use code FLOCK, we can find you and hook you up with some free questions. But multiple scoregasms coming through. Here, running back, we're choosing between Etienne, Harvey, and Braylon Allen. I have Etienne in the Flock League. I'm praying to God that he's the starting guy. But in reality, it's a 50-50 coin flip, whether it's him or Bigsby. RJ Harvey's probably not the starter, though. It's very easy to see that being Dobbins week 1. There's definitely no way in hell we're starting either of the running backs ahead of these flex options. I think the only pivot you would potentially consider would be Olave over Rome. And for the love of God, It would be nice if we could upgrade tight end. Like I would actually start Chig over Mason Taylor week 1 specifically, even if Chig is a horrible matchup. But let's pick somebody in the chat to give away a free question too. We got Holt Daddy 97. So let me go ahead and pull you up on the site. If you use code FLOCK, should be able to find you. Holt Daddy 97. I got you, my friend. Sent over some free vouchers to your account. So you should be able to get some questions in. Thank you for hanging out in the live stream with us, of course. Okay. Now, Donnie Boy coming through. This is Higgins versus Jonathan Taylor. This is a format where wide receiver is going to matter a little bit more. You can get up to 4 receivers in your lineup. It's a 12-team full PPR league, but still it doesn't really matter. Jonathan Taylor is by far and away the best player in the deal, especially now that you actually have Daniel Jones as the starter here. Now, Tim is coming through with a trade. This is Chase Brown, Nico Collins versus CMC and Drake London. CMC, Nico for me, same tier. Chase Brown, London for me, same tier. I think that this is the perfect example of just a personal preference type deal, and it's up to you. Now, the thing is, this is a 6-team league. So 6-team league, this is very different than the normal fantasy football league. The downside does not matter at all. You have Rome Odunze, Ricky Pearsall, Tyrone Tracy on the waiver wire. So the only thing that matters is upside, and we should just ignore the downside case entirely. You want McCaffrey. Now, Dash coming through. This is Calvin Ridley versus Xavier Worthy. Pre-Rice suspension and post-Rice suspension. The answer is Xavier Worthy here easily. Now, J-Jack says format is quarterback, wide receiver. Format is quarterback, running back, receiver, double flex, tight end, flex, super flex. So here, just a future reference for you, a wide receiver / running back, it's just a flex spot. I know you can't put a tight end in, but frankly, it doesn't matter. You weren't going to start a tight end anyway. So this is just like a regular super flex start 7 league. So quarterback is going to make up a ridiculous percentage of your starting lineup output. If you can only start 8 offensive players and 2 of them are quarterback, that is massive. So upgrading from Bryce to Hurts is massive. Upgrading from Mike Evans to A.J. Brown's massive. And you only have to pay Kamara and Ted to get it done. This is the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown side. My only hesitation is it's a 14-team league. Since it's a 14-team league, it is a little bit tougher. Alex says, how can one acquire a free question? A couple different ways. 1, you can win them in the live chat. And 2, if you got the 2025 season pass and you use code FLOCK, you should get free vouchers on your account to ask questions in these streams as well. And if you haven't already got the season pass, it's not too late. Again, I stand by that 2025 season pass is going to be the number one thing that can help you win your fantasy football league this year. It's going to come with all the tools on the site all the way until January 1st. All the updated rankings, both weekly and rest of season. And on top of that, if you haven't done your draft already, it's actually going to hook you up with everything for your draft as well. And again, if you wanted to get those free vouchers to ask questions in these live streams, make sure you sign up with code FLOCK. And it's not only the number one thing that's going to help you win your fantasy football league, but it's also the cheapest fantasy football product that you can get as well, because it is only $34 and it's a one-time payment, not even a subscription. Okay. Galley Boy says he signed up with a different code and are asking if all of his vouchers are with that code. Yeah, so if you use the different code to sign up to the season pass, whoever's code you used, they'll be the ones answering your start sit questions, your trade questions for free. You can still purchase a question to ask it to me, but if you wanted to ask me the free questions, you would have had to use code FLOCK when you signed up. But Shane coming through here for the flex spots. Roman Nunze would be the best player on our bench right now that we would like to get in. I'm not going to start Rome over Devonta Smith, Pickens, Nico, Neighbors, or Adams, though, week 1. Phenomenal team, though. I think you leave the lineup as is. Now, Dix Keena coming through. Here we need to figure out a wide receiver spot. DK Metcalf's going to be the easy start for me over Igbuka and Rome. And then I probably would start Tet over Rome as well week 1. I think that'd be the only rookie wide receiver I'd be willing to start over Rome week 1, though. Now, E. Morales coming through with a trade question. This is Jordan Addison and Mark Andrews versus Rashee Rice and Loveland. Andrews and Loveland are in a comparable tier for me, but we did get word that it did seem a little more likely that Likely was going to be missing a decent stretch of games at the beginning of the season based off a report today. So maybe Andrews, you do end up getting the bump up. Obviously, Rice is a longer suspension than Jordan Addison, but Ultimately, at the end of the day, Rice is just going to completely spank Jordan Addison when it comes to points per game through the rest of the season. So it looks like a shallower format where you can maybe get away with not having Rice for that time. Undocs Bro coming through with the trade. This is Brock Bowers versus Kenneth Walker and Ladd McConkey. This is going to be a 10-team format. So if we're looking at what a roster spot's worth here, this is a league where like Leggett, I guess, is the best wide receiver on waivers. So it's not like the waiver wire is that great. But with the Jacoby Myers potential trade, I still like the idea of going with Bowers. Running back, we have James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Caleb Johnson. So you have so much running back production. What do you have at receiver? Receiver, we have Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Josh Downs, Travis Hunter. You don't have anybody at tight end. If this is a league where you're forced to start a tight end based off your team, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to take the Brock Bowers side of this. Okay. Now let me pull up what we have with our next questions. And as I do this, I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I mean, we are live streaming every single day until Christmas. And we've done that every year for 4 years. We live stream every day answering fantasy football questions. And every night we live stream before the season. We are also going to be doing fantasy football drafts. But we have some more questions we got to get through here. This is MDG with the start set. Here, wide receiver, Brian Thomas, Neighbors are just going to be auto starts. Don't really need to think about it. Kelsey gets the bump up as well with the Rice suspension. And then down here in the flex, I think we're going to go with the combination of the rookies, to be honest with you. We're going to be going with Igbuka and Tet McMillan. I'm just as concerned with Stephon Diggs starting slow as I would be with the rookie wide receivers with them coming off the torn ACL. Like, I have Diggs in the flock league, and there's a good shot that I go ahead and I actually look to bench Stephon Diggs in the flock league week 1. Rich says, was offered this trade, team is linked, Pollard becomes RB2 and lose wide receiver depth. Is it worth it to get the move for Brian Thomas Jr.? So going from like DJ Moore to Tony Pollard, kind of a lateral move post Tajay Spears news. Amari Hampton to Devonta Smith for Brian Thomas. I think in a lot of formats, this would make sense for you to make. However, the issue is this is going to be a start 9 league. So with the start 9 format, I actually do think having the additional starter here is it's going to be enough for me to just go ahead and hold on to that. But if you were playing in a league with only like 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, you for sure go get the best player with Brian Thomas. It's just difficult because you have to get so many starters in your league. Now, Lidex says, already pretty loaded at receiver. Is this worth it? Thanks, Mace. Thank you. We're going to go ahead. If you're already loaded at receiver and it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, you go ahead and you get Rashee Rice. Like, if you can just power through the Rashee Rice first 6-week suspension, and then you get him back for like the bye weeks in the playoffs, he's going to outscore Igbuka. Tom Hicks coming through. This is Rice and Jordan Mason versus Garrett Wilson. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson here if you can afford it at wide receiver. Early in the season, you'll be starting Adams, Olave, Downs, Igbuka. Running back, we have Achane, Bucky, Pollard. So it seems like we have enough production if you wanted to hold on to Rice, but we can just go ahead and get Garrett Wilson. Now, Bonnet says, flexes for week 1, can't have 3 Broncos, or maybe I can. There's no way in hell I want to be flexing the tight end with Evan Ingram. I'd way rather play Sutton over him. But if we're looking at the Cedric Tillman flex, you know what? There's a chance I'd rather play Evan Ingram. Oh, dear God, especially with the reports where we don't know if Tillman's going to be back running 90% of the routes the same way that he did a year ago. So you know what? F it. We are going to be running out 3 Broncos. I mean, it's nice that they currently project to be a borderline top 5 offense week 1 against the Titans. Watchtower making a trade where we send Fields and McLaurin for Daniels. This is an 8-team league. 8-team league, yes, you want yourself an elite quarterback. Terry McLaurin's not going to make that big of a difference. Go get Daniels. T. Jones, we need to fill out a starting lineup week 1, and dear God, your team is garbage. How is your team so bad? This is an 18-team league. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. If this is an 18-team league, then yeah, it's reasonable for you to have this gross of a question for week 1. I think we're going to go with the combination of RJ Harvey and probably... The thing is, Chris Rodriguez could be RB3 in Washington. I think I may rather play freaking Trey Benson over him. And then down here in the flex, we're going to play Tillman, but... it really is going to be extremely tough with no Godwin early in the year. Like in an 18-team league, having no Godwin is just brutal. Now, Bonnet says, have no idea here. Ingram is going to cook in the slot. We just had to start Evan Ingram in the slot for somebody else, and it was disgusting. Here, the question is, like, would we rather have Jordan Mason or Evan Ingram? Full PBR format, I think you go with Evan Ingram. Hilarious, though, that there are two teams now. Or is this the same team we just answered this for? This is the same team we just answered this for. So real quick, let me explain how these questions work on flockfantasy.com, just in case y'all have never sent one in. I promise you, I will never miss your question. We have spent so much time, so much energy, so many resources building out this on flockfantasy.com. It's incredible. If you submit a question to flockfantasy.com, it will get ordered in the answer that it will get answered in the order that I received it. And even if you're still not in the live stream, you are going to see your answer, because the second that I answer it, you will get sent on flockfantasy.com, and you will get notified with your email a link for you to click, and it will take you to the exact point that I answered your question in the live stream. And since I go in order, I'm never going to miss one of your questions. So if you send in a question and wait 10 minutes and I haven't gotten to it yet, don't feel the need to send in another, because I promise you I will get to it. Just give me a little bit of time there. So don't worry about it. Don't send in, don't pay for the same question multiple times. Of course, I appreciate the support, but I feel very bad when I see that, because you don't need to. Now, see Buffett coming through with a start sit. We need 3 flex spots. We have no Rice week 1 anymore. I think you start Pacheco here pretty easily. I think you're going to start Ricky Pearsall, and then we're going to go with Egbuka. But you did get Tim Patrick dealt out of Detroit. So I know Isaac Tesla is somebody that a lot of people are excited about at this point. But it looks like we had 600 likes in the stream. So if y'all want a free start sit question, trade question, please just drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get some free vouchers out there. Now, Addy Boy coming through. This is Kamara, DJ Moore, Evan Ingram versus Amari and Hampton, Jacoby Myers, George Kittle. I'd rather have Hampton over Kamara, DJ Moore over Myers, Kittle over Ingram. I think you're getting the best and second best player in this deal. So we're going to go with Hampton, Kittle, and who cares about Jacoby Myers in a 10-team league. My guy Chris trading Hampton and Judy for Swift and JSN. I think Hampton and JSN's comparable tier. I'd rather have Hampton, but they're not that far off. And I'd way rather have Swift over Jerry Judy. So we're going to go the Swift and JSN side. Law MVP Jackson, who just won one of those giveaways in the chat previously. I'm thinking about trading away Lamb, Kamara for Chase Brown, Evans, and London. Evans, Kamara, comparable for us. Lamb versus Chase Brown and London. 12-team format. So I actually think that this is one of the very rare instances where you can afford to give away the best player. Well, let's pick somebody in the chat to give away a free answer to. We got Uncle Fresh. Let me see if I can find you on the site. And if I can, we'll send you over some stuff. Okay, perfect. Got you, my friend. And just sent you over those free questions. It looks like you got the season pass, so you should have already had some free vouchers in your account. Looks like maybe you already sent in a free trade question, but now you should have a couple other free vouchers, my friend. Okay. And then hit that like button. When we hit 700 likes, we'll be giving away some more free questions. But Volvia says, full PPR, single flex, 3 receiver league. How should I prioritize my draft? Should I focus on wide receiver early? 100% yes. If this is a full PPR format where you can get up to 4 wide receivers in your lineup, this is very similar to what we have in the Flock League draft. And if you go over and you look at what happened in the Flock League draft, you will see that wide receivers crept up the board pretty consistently. So I'd highly recommend prioritizing the wide receiver position. That's exactly what I did in league settings comparable to this. But here, wide receiver is going to matter even more, because instead of it just being the second flex spot, it's a mandatory start 3 receiver. Now, Ryan with the start sit question. Here for the flex, we are going to go ahead and we will put in Isaiah Pacheco. I don't want to start Ridley in a tough matchup week 1. Caleb, here in the flex, we're looking at Tracy versus Travis Hunter. Full PBR format, I think you can go Hunter. I can kind of go back and forth with him and Tracy, because Tracy should have a good workload week 1 with the Scadaboo injury. If Scadaboo ends up missing, you pivot to Tracy, but I think Scadaboo will play. Here for the flex, this is a dynasty league for worn athletes, so it's going to be a little bit uglier than your normal redraft format. I would think I would start Honestly, maybe I'm just being a little too pessimistic, but I think we're going to go with Shaheed over Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt week 1. I'm pretty damn confident we can project Shaheed to run 75+% of the routes. Where Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I just frankly have no idea what the workload's going to look like. Now, B. Peters coming through with the trade. This is Keon Coleman to slightly upgrade to Shakir and Brian Robinson to slightly upgrade to Tank Bigsby. 100%. I mean, Brian Robinson at this point is about comparable to Tyler Algier. Go with the Shakir side. Lucky Luke trading Kincaid for Debo Henry and upgrading a 4th to a 3rd. I would honestly probably rather have Kincaid myself, because I think if we're looking at all the assets in this deal, he has the ability to bounce back the most in Dynasty from a value perspective. Now, the Reaper says, I just find this flex spot rough to pick anyone. Okay, so here it's Rome, Waddle, or Tyrone Tracy effectively. I think I am going to go ahead and take Waddle, considering the Jonnu trade and the fact that it doesn't look like Tyreek is sitting with a good spot on this team. Jada Tiger says, I did a start sit before the Rice suspension, Judy or DJ Moore to replace him. I would go with DJ Moore over Judy. What'll be interesting is if all the backup running backs in Chicago are hurt for week 1, do you get some artificial usage for DJ Moore, kind of as like a pseudo running back? So definitely go DJ Moore over Judy week 1. The offense is going to be much better as well. Here for the flex spot, we're looking at Trevion Henderson or Tet McMillan pretty much as the top 2 options for authentic facts. I would go with Henderson. I'm going to be a little bit slow to start either rookie, but probably more excited about the running back than the receiver. Now, Awesome Knuckle, especially when we saw the preseason usage. Awesome Knuckle trading Tet McMillan, downgrading to Romadunse, upgrading from Reed to Swift. It's a 10-team single flex format. Actually, the league's not linked. Actually, it is linked, right? No, this is the Flock League. So never mind. That's funny that that's pulling in. So if this were to be a 10-team single flex format, I think you just take the best player with Tet McMillan. Can y'all please let me know in the chat, what side would you rather have here? Would you rather have Jaden Reed and Tet McMillan, or would you rather have DeAndre Swift and Romadunse? Please let me know in the chat. Okay, we got Tet, Swift, Tet, Swift, Tet, Swift, Tet, Swift. Yeah, I think Tet's best player in the deal. If you were desperate for a running back, you could argue the Swift side. I think we're going to go ahead and take Tet McMillan there. Okay, so now this is coming out from Hinsky. Start sit. We need a flex. I think we're going to go ahead and we will take JMO over Pickens and Tet week 1. I think we're going to be a little hesitant with the rookie, and then also Pickens has a really tough matchup against the Eagles. I'm going to go with Devonta Smith here for the second flex spot for McCleasers over Matthew Golden. Now, Putty coming through with the trade question. This is Achane Jennings versus Golden and McBride. I'd rather have Achane over McBride. I'd rather have Golden over Jennings. But this is a 12-team multiple flex league. I don't care as much about the elite tight end, so I'd rather have Achane. Neil needs 2 flex spots, Dynasty League, so we have a lot of options to pick from. I think I'd still go Montgomery over Eckler with the Brian Robinson trade. And for that second spot, none of these wide receivers are too compelling for me week 1. So you know what I'm actually going to do? We're going to go Jalen Warren, assuming that he is the starting running back over Caleb Johnson early in the season. Here, this starts it for King Volton. We are going to be funny that we picked up Estimate. I guess this is a dynasty league, so it makes sense. Tony Pollard is a horrible matchup, but he's guaranteed a 3-down workload. We play Pollard. Here for the 2 wide receiver slots, we have no Addison, we have no Rice, so we're going to have to rely a little more on wide receiver depth with Diggs and Judy. And then for the 2 flex spots, we're going to be going with Aaron Jones. And between Kupp, Jawan Jennings, I think most weeks you're going to play Jennings, but with him missing almost all of training camp, I think that I would actually probably go ahead and play Kupp here in a full PPR format as well over the running backs. Okay, let me see if we have any more simple questions to answer or if we should go to some team reviews. Bumpy Sacks coming out with a massive dono says ESPN 10-team PPR. Start 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex box. League has to take a quarterback in round 1. Any concern with my potential picks? Jamar, Chase, Bucky, Evans, Marv, Egbuka. Are you seeing any of the same team concern? For me personally, I have no problem with you loading up on players from the same offense. I know obviously it's very different in a regular redraft league than a best ball tournament, but just as an example, the team that won millions of dollars in underdog drafts last year in Basketball Mania was a team that drafted pretty much all Cincinnati Bengals. So for us to look at this, I don't think we are that scared off to take Jamar Chase and Chase Brown on the same team. If you could go Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Marvin Harrison, that is beautiful. I don't know if I'd follow it up with Egbuka. Here, having 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the same roster does seem like a little bit of a stretch. Egbuka would need to be at a better price point than round 6. I know you list them out as the 6th player here that you took. I don't know if you are actually instead taking Egbuka in like the double-digit rounds and you're like, hey, this price tag is just simply too good for me to pass up, and then we're fine with it. But for me, I like the idea of making the consolidated bets and going, what if the Bengals are a top 3 offense in the league this year? So if you can make those consolidated shots, it lowers your floor for sure, because what happens if you get a significant offensive line injury? What happens if you end up getting like an injury to Joe Burrow? Then obviously the bottom can fall out from multiple of your pieces at the same time. But I'm trying to think. But again, if things click right, you raise your probability of winning your league from the standard 10% in a 10-team league to possibly up to like 20 to 30%. So I like the idea of going in on offenses like this. If you're telling me you took Egbuka in like round 6, round 7 in a 10-team league when we already had Bucky and Evans, I think it's a little rich, but I'm not going to be super concerned about you having like Jamar, Chase Brown on the same team or Bucky and Mike Evans on the same team. I think it's completely fine. But let me hook you up with a bunch of free questions, my friend. So if you have anything that you want to follow up with this team, we can go ahead and try to help you out. Really do appreciate you, of course. But now D-Dot coming through with the trade. Here, this is a trade where we're sending Tet, Egbuka, Bowers for Harrison, Tyler Warren, and Loveland. Bowers to Harrison, downgrade. Tet McMillan to Tyler Warren, downgrade. Egbuka to Colson Loveland, downgrade. This is the Brock Bowers side, and it's not even remotely close. Not even close. You want Bowers. Skiddy says, I have Warren, so what should we trade Laporta for? If you have Tyler Warren, like, I would probably rather have the Alvin Kamara side of this, because Kamara is the best player in the deal. I don't know if Egbuka and Pacheco are that far off apart from each other. Tyler Warren's going to make it where Sam Laporta is not a significant value over replacement option for you not wanting to put him in a tight end. So I think you just kind of hold on to the Kamara side. And if you wanted to make an adjustment, maybe instead of asking for Sam Laporta from this team, we ask for DJ Moore. If you were trying to get off Kamara and Egbuka and we didn't want to trade for Laporta. Tom 1K, longtime member of the flock, looking at Hunter or Trevion Henderson. Redraft league, I think you go with Trevion Henderson relatively easily. I mean, with Hunter, obviously crazy high ceiling with the prospect profile, number 2 pick overall in the NFL draft. But we don't know how many snaps he's going to be playing on the defensive side of the ball yet. But it looks like we had 700 likes in the live stream. So 1, hit that like button. And 2, If y'all want free questions in the stream, just go ahead and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat right now. But Caleb coming through the question here. We need to figure out a flex. Rashee Rice suspended. So at this point, I think it's really easy. You're just going to play Jamison Williams. Even though the Lions don't project out as a super high scoring offense week 1 as they usually do. Here for Kope, we're going to go with Kincaid. Should actually be a higher scoring game environment going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Nate Tano says other receivers are Jefferson, DJ Moore, Ricky Pearsall, Luther Burden. Running backs are Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, Charbonnet, Caleb Johnson. We have Josh Allen at quarterback as well. So this looks to be a Nate Tano, I think you're in the chat, right? Please, can you tell me how many flex spots and how many teams are in your league? But real quick, let's go ahead and let's pick somebody random. We got JaceMan16 to give some free questions to. So let's go ahead and let's do just that. JaceMan16. Can I find you? Can I find you, my friend? And then I really want to hear from Nate Tano in the chat. How many teams are in your league? And there's no JaceMan16 that used code FLOCK on flockfantasy.com. Let's look up Trustworthy Soup. Perfect. Okay. Found you. Looks like you have a free account, so you shouldn't have had any questions yet, but I just sent you over some of those free vouchers so you can get some questions in. But Trustworthy Soup, you are good to go now. Because here, if we're looking at what we have with Nate Tano, I think if you're in like a 10-team single flex format, you're completely fine, like rolling out Jefferson, DJ Moore, wide receiver, Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, running back, and then like Ricky Pearsall in the flex, and then just waiting until Rashee Rice makes it back. But if this is a double flex league, then I think you're going to be in a very tough position where it's going to be tough for you to make waiver wire moves, have depth. If you end up getting like an injury to any player in your lineup, you're kind of screwed. Nick says, he said it's a 12-team PPR, 2 receiver, 1 flex. Nate Tano, can you also let me know what's the best waiver wire name in your league? And as we wait for Nate Tano to let us know the best waiver wire move, Matthew says, how do I fix ESPN team? It says credentials needed. Okay, so here, let me explain real quick for anybody who's trying to link a team with flockfantasy.com. So obviously, link your team, see everything. Here's the Flock League. Super valuable resource. You can go ahead and you can like see the best waiver wire pickups in your league, the whole 9 yards, right? You can see where your team is in the power rankings, where it is with positional rankings, blah, blah, blah. But if you are wanting to link your team, the teams that you can, the platforms you can link with right now are Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo. I will say ESPN's a little bit of a pain in the butt. Sleeper, super easy. You copy and paste your league ID and bam, you're there. Yahoo, super easy. They were rate limiting us at first, but it looks like we're good to go with Yahoo now. So just hit submit, log into Yahoo, and they immediately pull all your leagues into the site. ESPN, pain in the butt because you need credentials, because most of y'all play in private ESPN leagues. So one, you need to make sure that you're signed into ESPN, and I would recommend doing this on a computer, right? You're on a computer, make sure you're signed into ESPN on one window, install our browser extension, sign into flockfantasy.com on the other window, and then open the extension and hit the big sync button, and then it will pull those credentials from ESPN into flockfantasy.com, and it should link your team for you. Wise Guy says, got my ESPN working. Happy to hear that. And we are hoping to get NFL fantasy set up soon. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where we can find the best waiver wire option from Nate Tano out here right now. Bind says, is the Chrome extension pulling your ESPN cookies to authenticate with the ESPN API? I don't know exactly. You're going to have to talk to the developers of flockfantasy.com. Sadly, I am not a computer whiz, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Mason says, only seems to work on Mac. It does not only work on Mac. Our developers actually do not work on Mac. So most of the time stuff, if we ever have issues, it doesn't work on Mac. And it works on everything else. Okay, so I can't find the best option on the waiver wire. So here with this, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the RJ Harvey and Chris Olave side of it with the Rashee Rice suspension. If you were like absolutely loaded and you had great options on the waiver wire, then sure, I think maybe you go ahead and you take Rashee Rice. But it's not as easy. Now, and also, if you're having any issues with flockfantasy.com, I'm sorry, I can't do live Q&A right now. If you need help with anything, please just send it in the site issues section of the Discord, and one of the developers would be happy to help you out. Now, Warren Athlete coming through. This is a trade where we're getting a first and a second, Harrison and Rome, and we're giving up Nico Collins, JCM, and a couple thirds. This is so easily Marvin Harrison and Rome Odunze. It's not even funny. Like Marvin Rome versus Nico, not that far off in Dynasty. And the first and the second versus JCM in 3/3. It's Marv and Rome easily. Okay. And let me refresh and see if we can find any more quick questions to answer. Now, E3 coming through. Here for the flex, we need to play between DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs. Essentially, you go with DeAndre Swift, especially with all the banged up backups in Chicago at the running back position. Q's Fantasy here is trading Evans and Hurts for Burrow and Kyron. Evans and Kyron not that far off for me. And if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, give me Jalen Hurts. So 4-point passing touchdown format, give me the Jalen Hurts side. 6-point passing touchdown format, give me the Joe Burrow side. Now, Big Dill coming through. Here for the flex spots, I think you just pretty easily play Sutton and Devonta Smith. If you wanted to put in Ted McMillan, I wouldn't fault you for it. But the thing is, if we're looking at these wide receivers that project comparable rest of season, I'm always going to go with the veterans that we've seen the long track record from before we play the rookie. My general stance with the rookies are, obviously we're very excited to draft them, very excited to hold on to them for their upside, but we can always afford to wait and start them the week after they break out. Okay. So let me refresh this. And we got Uncle Fresh coming through. We just hooked them up with the free question. Here, we are going to be starting Amari and Hampton. Hampton is one of the very few rookies that I think you can say, honestly, F it. We don't need to see it before we believe it. 3-down profile. Najee hasn't been at camp at all. So Hampton should hit the ground running. And then I'd play Ted McMillan over... I'd play Terry McLaurin over Ted McMillan, Trevion Henderson, and Caleb Johnson. So this is definitely a team with a ton of rookies that we are hoping stays alive at the beginning of the year for those rookies to break out and hopefully turn our team to the best in the league. But looks like we've caught up with all the quick questions. So let's go through and let's do some of these team reviews. I know we had some people that were on Yahoo waiting for us to do team reviews over the past few days that we've fallen behind on. But the issue with Yahoo rate limiting us is now gone, so we should be good to go. Now, big boy Jimmy Johns is coming through. Says, just drafted. Yahoo projection has me 8th in the league. Feel like I have insane depth compared to other teams. Only position I'm worried about is running back. So first thing is, I would say the depth is not going to matter as much because you are in a 10-team league. So while, of course, I would rather have depth than have no depth at all, what I would prefer more than anything in this spot is I would want to have the top end options inside our starting lineup. That's going to be a lot more important for me personally in a league like this than the depth would be. But here you do have multiple flex spots. So, I mean, that's at least something where we can start up to 4 wide receivers. We are currently sitting number 1 in the league analyzer, which you absolutely love to see. But again, the depth is to the extent that like Keon Coleman and Jalen Warren are out there on waivers, right? So I'm not that concerned with depth if you have Keon Coleman and Jalen Warren on the waiver wire. Now, real quick, quarterback, not great. I would really like to, if possible, go through and try to upgrade the quarterback position from Jordan Love and Justin Herbert. In a 10-team league, you're just getting spanked here, essentially. Like, realistically, 10-team league, we can see with the league analyzer that we have the worst quarterback room in the league. These guys aren't that much better than streaming options. Going over to running back, we're decent. We have Bucky, James Cook, Trevion Henderson, JCM, Trey Benson. So we have like a low-end RB1, couple high-end RB2s for 10-team leagues specifically. Wide receiver is the positional strength that we have. We have Lamb, Brian Thomas, Worthy, Ted McMillan, Rashee Rice, Egbuka, Godwin. So for me, I agree. I think you have so much wide receiver depth, but Keon Coleman's out there on the waiver wire. Jaden Higgins is out there on the waiver wire. Like, wide receiver depth doesn't matter as much. So, I mean, I would love to see if we can sell some wide receiver depth and go get an upgrade to actually get an elite level quarterback in your lineup. Now, where I'll be a little bit hesitant to tell you to do that just right away is when we're looking at what we have specifically with the beginning of the season. Because we have Trevion Henderson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, so 2 rookie running backs. We have the rookie wide receivers with Tet McMillan, Igbuka. We have the suspended receiver with Rashee Rice, and we have the injured wide receiver with Chris Godwin. Plus, we have the rookie tight end with Tyler Warren. So I would assume that your team's a lot better in week 8 than it is right now. So if your default is, I'm not going to do anything with my team, your team should accrue in value and you should be fine. The thing is, can you survive the beginning of the season for us to get Godwin, for us to get Rice, for us to get some of these rookie breakouts? So the first thing that I would very easily say to do is you need to cut Najee Harris and you need to pick up Jaylen Warren. If Najee's on your IR and we can't cut him to open a roster spot, then at that point we would cut Trey Benson to pick up Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is somebody that you need on this team. He's just too valuable to have for free out there on the waiver wire. The second thing that I would try to do is if we could find a team that has some strong production at quarterback and we could find a way to send them one of our receivers like Tet McMillan and Jordan Love to go get an upgrade, I would love to do so. So like this team is Josh Allen and CJ Stroud. Is there a world in which we can try to send them the combination of Xavier Worthy and Jordan Love for Josh Allen, Tet McMillan and Jordan Love for Josh Allen, Xavier Worthy and Herbert for Allen, Tet McMillan and Herbert for Allen? Most likely they're going to reject that deals. And most likely we're going to have to move on to the next team with quarterbacks. This team has Lamar Jackson. Is there a world in which we can send them Xavier Worthy and Jordan Love for Lamar, Xavier Worthy and Justin Herbert for Lamar, Tet McMillan and Love for Lamar, Tet McMillan and Herbert for Lamar? Answer is most likely not, but we're going to send the offer anyway and see what they say. And then we're going to move over to the team with Jaden Daniels. This team with Jaden Daniels is, horrible at wide receiver in a 10-team league. Is there a world in which we can send them Tet McMillan and Jordan Love for Jaden Daniels? Like hell, in the Flock League, Tet McMillan was drafted ahead of Jaden Daniels. Can we send them Xavier Worthy and Jordan Love for Jaden Daniels? And then we'd be doing the same thing with the Jalen Hurts team, which the Jalen Hurts team should be right here. So I'm offering those same wide receivers to see if we can get the Jalen Hurts. And then if we can upgrade to that elite level quarterback with how much depth that we have with the skill positions, afterwards, I think that we are going to be sitting on our hands and we're not really going to be making any moves. We're going to be waiting for some of the rookie breakouts. We're going to be waiting for our players that are going to miss the beginning of the season to come back halfway through the year. But if those 4 teams are hesitant to trade us an elite quarterback when we strike out on all of those, I think we're going to move over and offer the same crap to some tight ends. Like if we strike out on all of that, I think we go and offer Brian Thomas and Tyler Warren for Brock Bowers. I think we go and offer Xavier Worthy and Tyler Warren for Trey McBride, Tet McMillan and Tyler Warren for Trey McBride, Xavier Worthy and Tyler Warren for George Kittle, Tet McMillan and Tyler Warren for Kittle. Like those are 15 offers that you can send out. I would imagine the majority of them get rejected, but if we can find one of those teams that needs help at wide receiver where we just have by far and away the most value at wide receiver in the league, then cool, that would be great. And in reality, if all those teams reject our offers, then at the end of the day, we still have the best team in the league that's only going to get better as our rookies break out and our suspended/injured players come back. So really appreciate you. Let me hook you up with some free questions as well, just in case we get any counters to those kind of lowball offers. And that way we can go ahead and we can check that out for you. But obviously, phenomenal team. You have the best team in the league analyzer. I would just think that you could afford to get the elite upgrade either at tight end or QB. But let's move this over to Panthers 2550. Says, how's the team looking and do we need help at running back? I appreciate you. And of course, I'll be happy to look at any team that you submit screenshots for. But just for future reference, you can actually link your team with the site. I think this is ESPN. So you have to do it on your computer for the first time, but then afterwards you're good to go and you never have to worry about linking it again. And then that way, if you ever send me any questions, I can actually see everybody in your league and see the whole shebang. But here it's a shallower format, right? It's a 2 wide receiver, single flex league. So the depth at the skill positions won't matter too much. Quarterback, we have the elite option with Jaden Daniels. So we're in a really good position. We don't need a roster another quarterback down there on the bench. We do have Caleb Williams right now. I wouldn't fault you at all to drop Caleb Williams and actually go and pick up just a different running back that you like the upside case for, especially considering the fact that you're in a situation where you have so many quality running backs and wide receivers on your bench that I would assume that this is a little bit of a shallower format where there are actually pretty good options at running back and wide receiver out there on the waiver wire. So you can drop Caleb if you would like, if you can find a running back or receiver that you like off waivers. Running back, we have Genty, James Conner inside the starting lineup down there on the bench. We have Dobbins, Caleb Johnson. So overall, I like the running back room. I would say that it would be maybe beneficial if we could find a way to upgrade over James Conner. Going over to receiver, we have a locked and loaded wide receiver one with Neighbors. We have Higgins. We have Ridley down here on the bench. We also have Tet McMillan, Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison. I think for me, I would actually start Tet McMillan over Calvin Ridley week one. While I agree that we want to be a little hesitant with the rookie wide receivers, Calvin Ridley just has a really tough matchup going up against the Denver Broncos. So I would personally opt to go with Tet McMillan instead. And then when we're looking at what we have at tight end, we have Tyler Warren. So overall, I like your team a lot. I agree. I think we probably want to be upgrading running back. And how I think we can do that is try to package together a wide receiver and a running back combo like James Conner to go get the best name that we can. So like if there's a world in which we can take James Conner and Rome Odunze and go out there and get Kyron Williams, go out there and get Alvin Kamara, go out there and get James Conner, I think that would be interesting. If there's a world in which we could package together a better receiver than Rome Odunze, like Tet McMillan and James Conner, and see if we can go get Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, really any of those running backs that go at the 2-3 turn, I would love to try to make a deal like that as well. Chase Brown. I'm assuming that it's not going to be super easy, but I mean, there are about 6 different owners that you can send these offers to. And then outside of that, if you are able to make that 2-for-1 deal, what I would opt to do from a roster construction perspective is with a shallower format like this, where you have the hammer wide receivers at the very top, I would try to optimize with as many running backs that we could possibly get on the bench as possible. That way you can try to find like the next Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and find somebody that you are really excited for the true upside case if the starter were to go down in front of them. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And like I said, definitely link your team with the site and I can actually give you a lot more insight in the future. It's just a little bit tougher if you don't have your team linked. I can't like look at the actual other rosters and give you exact suggestions for trades with people. But it looks like we're about to hit 800 likes in the stream. So if you haven't done so already, go down there and hit that like button. And when we hit 800, we'll give away some free start sit questions and some free trade questions. But let's move this over to Legion of Boom. Says drafted value on a lot of my picks, and I just ended up with too many receivers. Curious what types of trades you think we should be going for. So looks like team name is I Love My Neighbors TDs. That's actually pretty good, my friend. I don't know if I've seen that one before. It's a super shallow format, 10 team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So the wide receiver depth's not going to be that important for me. I would love elite running backs. I'd love an elite tight end. I'd love an elite quarterback. And honestly, I think that there are some clear trades that we can look to make considering the fact that we have 6 viable wide receivers on our team. But real quick, looks like we hit 800 likes in the stream. So let me find somebody to give away some free questions for. And of course, let me remind you as well, as I pulled this up, if you have not done so already, if you want to get those free vouchers to send in questions on live streams like this, you can always do so by getting the season pass to flockfantasy.com. Not only is it going to get you access to all the tools on flockfantasy.com all the way until January 1st, including all the draft guides, draft sheets, updated weekly and rest of season rankings for myself and all the other creators on the site, but it's also going to get you set up with multiple free vouchers to send in questions to live streams that we're doing every single day, just like this, if you use code FLOCK. And at the same time, it's only $34, not even a subscription, just a one-time payment. So in my opinion, by far and away the most useful website for you to win your fantasy football league, and at the same time, the cheapest deal that you are going to find. But let's see, we got somebody out here. This winner is Z-Lay3. Z-Lay3, I found you. It looks like you actually already have the 2025 season pass. So you should already actually, I don't know if you have the season pass or not, but regardless, let me send you over some free trades and start sit questions. That way you should be good to go for this year. But yeah, you should have those free questions in your account now. But let's move this over to Legion of Boom again. So as we were discussing, this team has a ton of that wide receiver depth that here in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format's not going to matter much. I mean, you can kind of see this as well with the options that are out there available on the waiver wire right now with Khalil Shakir, Michael Pittman, Keon Coleman, Jacoby Myers. So the first thing I'm going to try to do with this team is I'm going to try to leverage the Rashee Rice suspension to potentially try to sell Xavier Worthy at a high point for us to be able to go and get that elite level quarterback. Because for me, with how strong your team is and how free these depth wide receivers are, the number one most appealing thing for us to do is sell a wide receiver and find an upgrade elsewhere in our starting lineup. So if you can sell Xavier Worthy and Kyler Murray and go get Josh Allen, go get Lamar Jackson, go get Jaden Daniels, go get Jalen Hurts, that would be the plan A for me. Plan B, I would do the same exact thing with DK Metcalf. I'm just assuming right now, selling Xavier Worthy is actually going to be a little bit easier to get that upgrade to the elite quarterback than it would be selling DK Metcalf. But kind of regardless, these depth wide receivers, we are packaging with Kyler and we are going and approaching every team with an elite quarterback, trying to pick up the elite QB, because say you sell Xavier Worthy and Kyler Murray and you get Jalen Hurts. Then what you're able to do at that point is you're able to open up one roster spot with the 2-for-1 deal. You can cut Trevor Lawrence as well because you won't need him if you have that other quarterback like Jalen Hurts. And there are plenty of quarterbacks you could pick up if you need it on the waiver wire. And then we can go over to the waiver wire, and with the 2 open roster spots that we have, if you really wanted to bring in additional receivers, you can pick up Shakir and Michael Pittman Jr. for free. If you wanted to chase the highest ceiling possible, where I'd say that running back's actually going to be a bigger need for us than wide receiver would be, you could pick up both Jordan Mason and Braylon Allen for free as 2 premium handcuff running backs. So kind of regardless, you know what I'm doing right now? Honestly, even if we don't get that quarterback upgrade, I'm never starting Lawrence over Kyler anyway. So I think I would cut Trevor Lawrence and I'd pick up Jordan Mason off the waiver wire. Because if we are looking at the ability for somebody to win you your league in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I don't know if Lawrence is going to have that capability where if you were to get an injury to somebody like Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason could turn into an every week starter for your flex spot. So cut Lawrence, pick up Jordan Mason, try to make that trade where we're sending either Worthy or DK Metcalf with Kyler Murray for the best quarterback upgrade that we could get. And then beyond that, I love that we are sitting with Bowers. If the elite quarterback teams aren't interested in making a deal, I'd still be trying to sell maybe a depth receiver like Rome Odunze and Kenneth Walker to see if we can pivot up and go get to a running back of the Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs range. And honestly, I do the same thing with Ibuka and Kenneth Walker. A DK Metcalf and Kenneth Walker, I do the same thing with. So we're definitely trying to make deals where we sell this wide receiver depth piece with Kyler Murray for an elite quarterback backup plan. We sell the wide receiver depth piece with Kenneth Walker for the elite running back. And we drop Trevor Lawrence. We pick up Jordan Mason. And if we can make one of those 2-for-1 deals and open up another roster spot, then we pick up Braylon Allen as well. But let me hook you up with a couple of free questions just to make sure that you are good to go for this year, my friend. But let's move this over and actually start answering some more of the basic questions. And we aren't getting the little notifications saying that we are good to go. So let me just double check to make sure that the stream is working on the site. And we're going to move over and answer some more of the start set questions, answer some more of the trade questions. Okay, please stream mode. Session's running. Oh, thank God. Was a little nervous here. Okay. Now let's move this over and we're going to get back to the team reviews in just 1 second, but the quick questions that come in, I mean, it's super fast for us to answer some of these, right? So we can give a bunch of answers versus one team review takes a while. So here, Messier coming with the trade. Worthy and Sutton versus A.J. Brown. 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. It's A.J. Brown. It's not close. And I say that as somebody who's drafted a ridiculous amount of Xavier Worthy in underdog drafts. And you know I'm rooting for our guy Worthy. Awesome knuckle trading Tet McMillan and Jaden Reed for Swift and Rome. We just answered this. The majority of the people wanted the Tet side. Actually, now we have the team linked. And yeah, if you have Ashton Genty, Amari, and Hampton at running back, you're not desperate for RB. So I think you just keep with Tet. Now, Bodie coming through with a massive trade. Here, this is 2 future first, a future second, versus Brock Bowers in Dynasty. Give me Bowers in a 1 quarterback format. Tyrone Tracy versus Warren. Give me Tracy. Downs versus Herbert. Honestly, I think if this was a super flex league, I would hold on to the picks. But with it being a 1 quarterback format rather than a super flex league, those rookie picks aren't going to be as exciting. So then we go ahead and we take Brock Bowers. Now, bang, boom, quack coming through with our next start set. Here, wide receiver, we're going to go ahead and we're going to auto start Worthy and Marvin Harrison with no Rashee Rice week 1. Tight end, I'm going to go Kraft over Loveland week 1. Loveland rest of season, though. And then down in the flex, I agree. I think we play Tony Pollard over Igbuka with no Spears early. Now, Lucky Luke coming through. We need a flex play. Isaiah Pacheco looks to be the easy start here. I mean, with Pacheco, obviously wide range of outcomes based off how bad he was after the injury last season, but all signs point to him being healthy right now. I think we kind of got to operate under the assumption when we are submitting our starting lineups in comparison to other players like Chris Rodriguez, Austin Eckler, where we just don't know what the split's going to be in Washington. And I'd say Pacheco has more juice than either one of those running backs. Pork Missiles coming through with the start sit. We need a flex. We're looking at Pickens, Javonte Henderson, and Jerry Jeudy. I think I'm going to go Trevion Henderson week 1. Henderson is a much better matchup than Pickens. Pickens has to play Philadelphia. Like, I'm generally trying to avoid Pickens in that spot. Waffle Taco coming through. Here, if we are looking at the flex, Rice is no longer in play. It's a full PBR format, so I think I would actually go with the rookie Matthew Golden. With the Jaden Reed injury, it looks like Golden should be just playing a ridiculous amount of snaps week 1. And it sounds like Jordan Love is going to be good to go, or at least obviously that is the hope at this point. Now, Michael Paz says, draft is Thursday. I'm using sheet number 9. Off the top, is there any changes you have in mind to make? Okay, let's go ahead and pull this up. So I'm very sorry, my friend, that we're not going to be able to get the updates out to all the draft sheets until Friday. Let me see. Obviously, I know that you're going to have to move Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt up significantly. Sheet 9 is going to be the half PPR start 7 format. Let me look at the early rounds and see if there'd be any massive adjustments that I think you need to be making from now. I mean, from when we updated it last Friday to Thursday. You're going to be pick 9. It's a 12-team format. So I think Brock Bowers in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I would actually maybe have over Achane and Bryant Thomas now. So I think you can move Bowers up where Bowers is for sure going to be in play for you in the second round if you don't get one of the top 13 names making it back to you. And because maybe Achane's a little less exciting there in the second round, I think you move Derrick Henry ahead of Puka Nacua in that 2 wide receiver, 1 flex start 7. Okay. But wishing you the best of luck. And let me send you over a free start set, of course, so we can see your team after. Now, Big Boy Jimmy Johns says, elite quarterbacks prices are too high. I get the Broncos deal. Okay, no. The difference between Jordan Love and Brock Purdy is nothing. You would effectively be trading away Rashee Rice for the Denver Broncos DST. There's just no way in hell we can possibly try to justify that. So please go ahead and please keep Rashee Rice in this. Okay. Jackson asking what's the verification code. I'm very sorry, but the verification code is going to be unique to you. If you're trying to sign up to an account on flockfantasy.com, you're going to have to check the email address that you signed up with for the verified email code. But Tim is 24 coming out with the start set. Here, Worthy is going to be an auto start with no Rice week 1. And then also I'd say Pollard, despite the tough matchup, is probably going to be an auto start as well with no Tajay Spears. Like, I am very concerned, of course, with this Titans offense having to play the Denver Broncos defense week 1. But just locking in 80+% of the snaps going to be hard to get away from. Okay, so let's move this back over and let's get back into some of the team reviews. And we're going to be live streaming for a long, long time answering these questions because I want to try to knock out as many of these team reviews as I possibly can. But this is Groove Team Chris. Let me hook you up with a free start sit. Let me hook you up with a free trade question as well. It says, I want to continue bolstering my roster at any position I can. Do we have any potential trade targets / packages? So we are the #1 team in the league analyzer. This is a 2 wide receiver single flex format. So what I love to see here, and why I'm going to be a little hesitant to say like, oh, okay, there are a ton of deals that we can make. We need to be doing this right this second. Is you've already built around the elite quarterback in a league where maybe the running back and wide receiver depth doesn't matter as much. We already have Josh Allen here. Beautiful to have the elite quarterback in this kind of format. And what I love about your team is we are rostering more running backs than receivers in a league with only 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, quality RB1, RB2. And then when we look at all the depth pieces, it is definitely nerve-wracking where I can't tell you that like, oh yeah, for sure Caleb Johnson's going to be anything. For sure Quinshon Judkins is going to be something. For sure Braylon, I don't know, maybe half of these running backs are zeros, but you really only need 1 or 2 guys of all the ones that we are rostering to turn out to be something. That's exactly what I did in my own draft, where if you go back and you look at what I have in the Flock League right now, I'm rostering like 3 more running backs than I am wide receivers. Going over and looking at what we have at receiver, we have the anchors with Lamb and Evans that we can start every single week regardless of the matchup. We have Terry McLaurin as a high upside wide receiver for the potential flex. And we have Stephon Diggs and Khalil Shakir as well. So I love your wide receiver room, and tight end we have Tyler Warren. You have a phenomenal team. If Tajay Spears is not on your IR, like if you didn't have an IR spot and you're just having to waste a bench spot on him at the moment, I would go ahead and I would cut Tajay Spears in favor of picking up Ramondre Stevenson off the waiver wire. But then outside of that, realistically, I don't know what you could do. I mean, if you could, in a hypothetical world, sell Terry McLaurin and Tyler Warren and go get George Kittle, go get Trey McBride, go get Brock Bowers, I would, but I would be surprised if you're able to make a trade like that. So, I mean, I would send those trades and see if we could. Get that upgrade to the elite level tight end. But again, I just don't know if we can. I think it's going to be much easier said than done. So the reality of the situation is I think you're sitting with your team as is. Let me send you over another free trade question. I'm really sorry. I wish I had more for you, but this is just a great team. You optimize for your format the exact way that I would want to. And I think you're in a really good spot to crush this year, to be honest with you. But I really appreciate you, and I hope I was able to help you out in some way, even though I know there's not much I could say there. Now, Big Dill coming out with a team. This is Feelin' Bucky. Says they have 4 spots left open for the waiver wire. Since it was a 13-round draft, who should we be looking for? So we are Feelin' Bucky here with our team. And you're telling me that we have 4 open spots on our roster, where the best players on the waiver wire right now are Jaden Reed, Quinshon Judkins, I'm not going to include quarterback because we have Josh Allen and it's only a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So I'd love to have Allen here. I think we can optimize for running backs down there on the bench. And then I'd say like Tank Bigsby and Darnell Mooney now that you have the Rashee Rice suspension. Now, I don't know if you already made these pickups. I don't know if you've already picked up your 4 guys since you sent this in. And if that is the case and you're not able to just pick up these other players for free and we actually have to drop names at the same time, I still think you make some interesting waiver wire drops where I think we would go ahead and we would cut. Big Deal says this was an in-person draft, so I grabbed Bravers fast. No, I filled them. Okay, perfect. Good to know. I think in that case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to change some of the guys that you picked up. So I'm assuming Brandon Ayuk is on your IR and Brandon Ayuk is not wasting a roster spot. If Ayuk is taking up a roster spot, he's going to be included in these cuts. But right now, cut Najee Harris, cut Marvin Mims. This is going to open up 2 separate roster spots on your team. And in that case, we are going to be picking up Jaden Reed and Quinshon Judkins. And then if you're in a scenario in which Brandon Ayuk is not on the IR and you have to waste a roster spot on him, we would cut Brandon Ayuk in favor of picking up Tank Bigsby. If Ayuk is in an IR slot and you are not able to open up a roster spot by cutting him, then instead we are going to be cutting Dallas Goedert, which I love Goddard. I'm about to have to cut him in the flock league, which it absolutely sucks. But here you have a viable tight end that you're not going to be putting Dallas Goedert in the lineup over. And at the same time, you have great options on the waiver wire. So I think you would cut Dallas Goedert in favor of picking up Tank Bigsby. So there, then at that point, we cut Najee, we cut Mims, we cut Goddard, we pick up Reed, Judkins, and Bigsby. And then honestly, I think you will probably move to the number 1 spot in the league analyzer in this league. Pretty confident in saying that as well. Looking at what we have with the quarterback position, there's nothing to discuss. We have the elite name with Josh Allen. Running back, we have the 2 top dogs with McCaffrey and Bucky Irving. So I think you're in a really good spot there. We have quality depth with JCM, Trey Benson, and we're about to get both Quinshon Judkins and Tank Bigsby as depth plus upside. Then going over to wide receiver, we have Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Chris Olave, Jaden Higgins. We'll have Brandon Ayuk on the IR. We'll have Jaden Reed as well. So wide receiver, my only hold up with this team is we don't have elite wide receivers. We do just have like a bunch of depth effectively at the position. So much easier said than done. But if we could potentially take 2 wide receivers, send them and get a singular upgrade, like send the combination of Chris Olave and DJ Moore or Chris Olave and Devonta Smith and move up there and get an option that goes at the 2-3 turn like Ladd McConkey, then we would love it. But again, you're probably not going to be able to. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So it's not like people need depth that much. And also you don't have the luxury of overpaying for the top end stud and selling depth at any means necessary because we are going to be waiting on Brandon Ayuk and Rashee Rice for a decent little stretch for this team. And then at tight end, we have Laporta and Dallas Goedert. So again, I think we'll probably end up cutting Dallas Goedert. Even if there aren't great tight ends out there on the waiver wire, like you have Hunter Henry. So I'd expect somebody to pick up Goddard over you, but I just think that like Bigsby and Judkins have a higher ceiling to make a difference in your league. But I really do appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, I think you have a great team. I think trade's going to be a little bit tough with the Rice suspension and us waiting on Ayuk, but I think those waiver wire moves are honestly going to just help you rise to the top spot in the league analyzer kind of regardless. Vibe says, how many teams can you load to the website for each subscription? If you got the season pass, you should be able to load. I don't think there's a limit. I think you can load as like many teams as you have. I can't guarantee that. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to load 100 teams onto the website, but I know that I've seen accounts that have like 30 teams loaded on. So effectively, if you have a subscription to the site, you can load as many teams as you want onto it. Okay, and let's move this over. Our next team's going to be coming out from Marky. Says, hey Mason, love the channel. Just wanted a little checkup on the squad. Traded pre-draft my 6th and 8th for a, wait, what? You traded, there's no way I'm reading this right. You traded your 6th and 8th for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Followed the draft guide. A little concerned with Achan's injury. Also wanted to know what we could do to saying 1st, 6th, and 8th. Are you saying you traded the 106 and your 8th round pick for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Let me see. Do we have a 1st round pick on this team? We are 2nd in the league analyzer, so we are in a really good spot. And yeah, it looks like that's what we did. We traded the 106 and we got back 2nd, 3rd, 4th. 10-team league, so those 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks actually were a little bit higher with the overall players that we were able to get. In general, I don't love trading away the best player like you did in this kind of format where it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Oh, your 1st, 6th, and 8th round picks. Okay, that makes more sense. Well, in general, I wouldn't like doing that in a league setting like this, where really the top players are going to be the best value adds you can possibly get because the depth isn't going to matter much. However, based off how your team's looking right now, I think you are in tip-top shape. I think you have a phenomenal squad here. Because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, you said that you used the draft sheets. So you should be set up in a really good spot at quarterback and tight end because, again, wide receiver depth's not going to matter nearly as much in a league like this. So I love that we have Josh Allen and Brock Bowers. The percentage of your starting lineup output that's going to be accounted for by the quarterback and tight end position is going to be crazy high when it comes to this league in particular. And for us to have the 2 guys that give us the biggest positional advantage, it is just an absolute cheat code. I love to see it, and we definitely exploited the league format with that in mind. Now, going over to running back and wide receiver, the goal is, can we just stay afloat? And running back, we have Achane, Kenneth Walker, RB1, RB2. That's solid. We have DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones as depth. That's great. We have Judkins, Najee, Ollie Gordon. What other running backs are on the waiver wire? It's not like you have guys that you absolutely have to pick up. I think I would probably consider dropping Najee Harris for Jaden Higgins, however, because if we are looking at the true upside case with Najee, it is hard to pencil out just with him missing so much time in training camp and him being new to this team. So, again, cut Najee, pick up Jaden Higgins. I'm fine with you holding on to Ollie Gordon if you really wanted him, if you're worried about the Achane injury. Mark says Najee's on the IR. Okay, if we're not able to cut Najee, then in that case, honestly, we're getting reports saying that Achane's good to go week 1. I know we have Achane. I know you said you were worried about the injury, but I think Jaden Higgins is too good of a player for him to be sitting on the waiver wire. So I think you need to be cutting somebody at running back at the very bottom here to pick up Jaden Higgins. So if Najee Harris is on the IR, then in that case, I think you're going to drop Ollie Gordon for Jaden Higgins. Wide receiver, we have London, Mike Evans, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. That looks great considering the injuries that we have to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers at this point. We have Garrett Wilson, Juwan Jennings, Jaden Reed at wide receiver as quality depth pieces. Like I said, we exploited our league format. We have the elite quarterback and the elite tight end already. You have a phenomenal team. Like, this is incredible. If you were worried about the Achane injury and you potentially wanted to try to open up a roster spot so you didn't have to cut Ollie Gordon, one thing that you could try to do is you could possibly try to package together like DeAndre Swift and Devon Achane, Aaron Jones and Devon Achane to go get a running back upgrade. Like if you wanted to try to get to McCaffrey by going Aaron Jones and Achane for CMC, or I mean, if you are that worried about the Achane injury, if you wanted to try to get to Ashton Genty from Aaron Jones and Achane, if you wanted to try to get to Derrick Henry from Aaron Jones and Achane, like the trade calculator will probably tell you that you're losing those deals because they are kind of all ranked back to back to back, and you're kind of paying the premium to just pivot off to a different name. But the thing is, your team's good enough here, and this format shallow enough where the Aaron Jones type player is really not going to make a difference in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So I love your team. I want you to love your team as well. So if there is that one spot that you're a little bit concerned with, just try to pivot over to the Ashton Genty. Go to that owner. Say, I'll give you Aaron Jones and Devon Achane for Genty. Hell, throw them Ollie Gordon too if they think that that's more exciting, if they're worried about an Achane injury as well. If you wanted to try to go through and do the same thing for Henry, do the same thing for CMC, you're not going to get Gibbs. You're not going to get Bijan. You're not going to get Barkley. I think those are the moves we are trying to make. But you have a phenomenal team. I mean, you absolutely dominated your league mates, specifically with how we optimize for the elite quarterback and the elite tight end in this format. I love it, my friend. And I really hope I was able to help you out. And real quick, we come in pieces. Mason, you're still doing live drafts on Underdog. Yes, we're going to be doing an Underdog draft later tonight. Marker word, I saw that your team was in here, my friend. I'm definitely going to try my best to get to it as fast as possible. I can't guarantee that it's going to be anytime soon. We got a bunch of team reviews that we have to get through, though. And I promise you, I'm trying my best to go as fast as I can. I see people asking. Curse Sniper says, appreciate your reviewing my team, Mason, yesterday. We're feeling good. I'll get that star QB once these rookies pop. Let me know how easy it was for you to find your team review in the live stream. Like, if anybody's in this stream and has submitted a question and got it answered on the site and went through and looked at it through the website, like your answer, how easy was it, that process for you? Because that's like the most important feedback I could possibly get right now as we're ramping up these live Q&A streams. Because the devs are ironing out a bunch of other things on the site, and soon they are going to be looking at possibly doing that. But I just got a message from Underdog that I think a flock pick'em pack is up. Let me see what this looks like. Okay. Perfect. But I just got this message from Underdog. This is going to be a ton of fun. Okay. If you go to Underdog and y'all play pick'ems, I just got them agree to a boosted flock pick'em pack for y'all in the app. Or they even threw our picture up there. Where Dak higher than 229 passing yards, Barkley to score a touchdown, and Pickens fewer than 4.5 receptions. We got that boosted pick'em pack if y'all wanted to ride with us. That's going to be super exciting. Okay. But let's move this over to our next question. And let's actually go back, and we're going to get to B1NX's team in a second. But let me move over to some of the more basic questions right now, the quick ones that we can just hammer through. There are only 3 of them here. Grand Lake Rocks, always out in the chat with us. Here, this is a trade where they're sending Charbonnet and Chuba Hubbard for Josh Jacobs. Oh, yeah, this is Josh Jacobs. My only hesitation, 14-team league. Obviously, selling the depth's going to be a little bit tougher. Options on the waiver wire are going to be worse. But Jacobs is a completely different tier than what you're going to have with a player like Chuba Hubbard. So, yeah, I think you just go ahead and you take the best player in it and you kind of run. Matthew says, please help here. Just signed up for the season pass. 2 trade options on the table. Okay, if you just signed up for the season pass, you should have free trade vouchers on your account. So please submit them on flockfantasy.com. I'd be happy to help you out. Rainman says, wide receiver, Worthy, London, Rome, and then running back Henry, JCM, and Ryan. Oh, yeah, this is going to be super easy. If you tell me we have Worthy, London, Rome at receiver and we're struggling at running back, I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor over Ladd McConkey anyway. And at the same time, you're in a spot where you have Jonathan Taylor as like a player I'd straight up outscore Ladd McConkey in a half PPR format. So let's go for it. Asian Artifact says, you just got the $34 plan, but have to still pay for a team review. I am sorry, the $34, that season pass, gets you free vouchers for start sit trade questions, but it does not get you a team review voucher. The only plan that gets you a team review voucher is the annual mother flocker. No, the season pass does not get you a team review. The season pass gets you access to everything on the site, including all the updated rankings until January 1st. The annual mother flocker is what gets you the team review. But let's move this back for Jack Ruddy with the start sit question. Here we're going to start Tyron Tracy easily over these other running backs. Jerome Ford's going to be an absolute garbage offense and split with Dylan Sampson. It looks like in New York, Scadaboo may be starting a little slower just given the fact that he had the hamstring injury in camp. So, yeah, let's go Tracy. Adrian says, is that season pass a one-time pay? Yeah, the season pass isn't a subscription. It's $34, and it gets you access to everything onto the site until January 1st. And it's not a subscription. It's a one-time pay. And you can find the link to it in the chat, description, comment section, everywhere. And down in the flex, I'm going to start Matthew Golden over Jacoby Myers week 1. Like, I'm not starting Myers week 1. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's move. David says, if someone didn't sign up for the right pack, can they upgrade on Flock? So if you signed up for a season pass and you want to upgrade to an annual mother flocker to get a free team review voucher as well and to get access to the site 365 days a year, then you can do so on your account page under Manage Plan. So yes, if you got a season pass and you want the free team review voucher and you want access to the site 365 days a year, go to your account page, hit Manage Plan, and then annual mother flocker is what will get you set up. Mr. Stanside says, bro, Mason, that hat ain't it, brother. My friend, I got back from a run and I had to get this going from the Rice injury. Wasn't planning on hopping on a live stream, but I didn't know that Rice was going to get suspended on our run. But B1NX says, should have clarified more in the trade question earlier, but what do you think we should do with the team? Confident with quarterback, but I don't like betting on an old Kelsey for tight end. Fact of the matter is, it's a 10 team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So you should be in a good spot where you can get a tight end upgrade or you can get a tight end off the waiver wire if you don't love going all in with Kelsey. So love the running back room, but also thinking to get in a better wide receiver too. So we are currently second in the league analyzer. So we are in a good spot and we are actually looking pretty exciting players down there on waivers. But let's see. David says, can I use a promo code when I upgrade? Forgot when I signed up. Yes. On your account page as well. If you never put in a promo code, you can always go and add promo code Flock. But if you put in a promo code, you can't change promo codes. But if you put one in, if you have not put one in, you can add Flock on your account page. So looking at this from Lombardi Bros, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So wide receiver depth and running back depth won't be the most important thing in the world. You're always going to be able to go to the waiver wire and get a potential start at any position that gives you a relatively high floor. The issue, of course, is going to be finding a potential league winning option from the waiver wire. So I will say right out the gate, I understand maybe being a little bit concerned with Achane, but the fact of the matter is Devon Achane, if he misses week 1, do you play Ollie Gordon? No. So if you're not playing Ollie Gordon, then why would we just not take Quinshon Judkins? I think Quinshon Judkins has a better shot at hitting your starting lineup this year than Ollie Gordon would. Especially with reports saying that we should expect Achane good to go week 1. So I would go ahead. I would cut Ollie Gordon. I would pick up Quinshon Judkins. And then we would be sitting at running back with Achane, Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, and Judkins. So we'd have 3 running backs at the very top that we are locked and loaded and we feel very comfortable with. And then we have 3 running backs that are rookies that we can hopefully see 1 or 2 of them break out in the middle of the season to the end of the year. And then all of a sudden we have a bunch of expendable value where we could potentially go through and upgrade quarterback. Because quarterback, we have Bo Nix and Brock Purdy. So this isn't the worst quarterback room in the world, right? I mean, we are 7th in the league analyzer here in a 10-team league. If this was a 12-team format, I'd be very excited about it. Now, the issue is in a 10-teamer, it's just going to be a little bit worse considering the fact that half the league's going to have an elite quarterback. There'll be 4 out of the 10 teams that have one of Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Daniels. So you're still behind at quarterback, but running back in the flex with Achane, Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, we're crushing. Wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams. Down on the bench, we have Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterbo, and we'll have Judkins once we drop Ollie Gordon for him. So overall, if we are looking at this kind of setup, I think that you have a good lineup week 1 with a lot of upside to continue to get better. I don't know if you can afford to upgrade the elite quarterback or the elite tight end just yet, though. Because if you are looking at your bench, we have Caleb, Scatterbo, Judkins, Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden. We have 5 rookies. And again, with those rookies, I think they have a ton of long-term upside, and I'm very excited about that. But at the end of the day, I frankly don't know if you're going to be able to trust them early in the season for your starting lineup. So I would want to roster them, wait for the upside, where we would eventually assume that you get a rookie or 2 breaking out. And then once that does indeed happening, then at that point, maybe Kenneth Walker becomes expendable where we can sell Kenneth Walker and Travis Kelce and we can go get George Kittle. Maybe at that point, Josh Jacobs becomes expendable where we can sell Jacobs and Travis Kelce and we can go get Brock Bowers. We can go get Trey McBride. So I think you drop Gordon, pick up Judkins, have a good lineup week 1, and have a great lineup once we have some of the rookies breaking out and we can afford to upgrade by trading away one of the additional running backs that we have for an elite tight end or an elite quarterback at that point. But I really appreciate you, my friend. Let me hook you up with some of these free questions. That way you can follow up. I would love to say like, hey, you have these 5 different trades that you need to look to make. But the issue is when you have like 6 rookies on your team, a lot of it's just being patient, allowing some of them to break out, and then we can afford to go get an elite onesie position. But it's not horrible sitting with what we have at quarterback and tight end right now. Like you can get by for sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's dive into our next team. This is going to be RVPG. It says any trades we should be targeting. We are the number 1 team in the league analyzer. This is going to be a little bit of a deeper league, 12-team format where we are starting 8 offensive players. Quarterback, we have Dak Prescott. I'm more inclined to punt quarterback and tight end in this league. This is very similar to the Flock League settings. I believe this is a half PPR format, which makes it a little more important to have that top end quarterback just because they'll make up a slightly higher percentage of our starting lineup output because the other positions will be hurt with losing half a point per reception in comparison to a full PPR league. But regardless, you need to get in a lot of running backs and receivers in your starting lineup here. So I'm kind of fine with us punting quarterback. I actually like the idea of us rostering 2 quarterbacks and playing the matchups here because realistically, there aren't that many quarterbacks out there on the waiver wire that we can be really excited about. Like we have Penix, Tua, Bryce Young, Stafford, Daniel Jones, Geno, Darnold. So it looks like most people in your league are rostering 2 QBs. So if we punted quarterback and Dak Prescott is our quarterback 1, I would like the idea of actually rostering 2 quarterbacks here. Whether you like Michael Penix, Tua, or Bryce Young, it is going to be up to you. But I would probably go ahead and I would cut Ollie Gordon and I'd pick up Michael Penix for the second quarterback slot. Real quick, I see people asking about Sky Moore ranking. I know he got traded to San Francisco. Sky Moore does not matter at all. What the hell are we talking about here? Do not worry about Sky Moore. Do not pick up Sky Moore, please. Looking at running back, we have Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Trevion Henderson, Braylon Allen, Dylan Sampson. So we have 2 really strong running backs at the top. Like Bucky Irving is your running back 2 is phenomenal. Like for us in a 12-team league to have Lamb, Brown, and Bucky, like it's very clear to see how we are the number 1 team in the league analyzed. To have Trevion as your RB3, we are sitting pretty here. Going over to wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Igbuka, Diggs, Jaden Higgins. So very similar to the team that we looked at previous to this, like a week one, you're going to have a serviceable lineup, but it's not like we're crushing. Tight end, we have Loveland. But the issue with the squad is Trevion, Dylan Sampson, Rashee Rice, Egbuka, Diggs, Higgins. You have reasons to believe that all these players are going to start slow. Rice with the suspension, Henderson, Egbuka, Jaden Higgins, Sampson, all being rookies. Stephon Diggs coming off the torn ACL. And this is a league where the depth matters because you have to start up to 4 wide receivers every single week. You have to start a combined 6 running backs and receivers. So for us, you don't have the additional flexibility. You don't have the additional value to go through and look to sell options at wide receiver or running back to upgrade quarterback or tight end. We're just going to have to go into the season and hope that we can get by with what we are sitting with now. The only potential swap that I think I would make is it sounds like Rachaad White's not going to be missing much time in the year. So I think that we would cut Dylan Sampson in favor of Rachaad White. I would have done that regardless if we had Bucky Irving on the team or not. But if Bucky were to go down, we've seen Rachaad White be a running back 1 in fantasy before. And it's not like we have any reason to believe that this Bucs offense is going to be 10 times worse than it was last year. I know the offensive coordinator is gone, but it's not the end of the world. You still have the same quarterback. So I would cut Sampson. I would cut Ollie Gordon. I'd pick up a quarterback. Your favorite between Michael Penix, Tua, and Young. I would cut Dylan Sampson. I'd pick up Rachaad White. And then I think you have to kind of sit on your hands and wait for some of these rookies to break out and or wait for Rashee Rice to get back. And then once that happens, you'll have the additional value where then at that point we can go out there and we can make a trade to either upgrade quarterback or tight ends. But right now we just simply can't. Right now you're not going to have enough value. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Let's move this over to our next question. This is King Was Taken. So hey, didn't do much research this year going in, so I kind of hate the team. What should we move, keep, and what are your overall thoughts? So yeah, I would say right now you are a little bit weaker where we are currently sitting 5th in the league analyzer. This is another one of those leagues that the depth matters a little bit more. I mean, the options on the waiver wire are going to be a little bit thinner. Like the best running backs are the Cleveland guys like Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. And you can get up to 4 wide receivers in your starting lineup every week. So here in a league like this, the elite quarterback, the elite tight end is not going to be as important. And we really need to be hammering wide receiver and running backs. So if we are looking at what we have with quarterback, though, we are sitting with the worst quarterback room in the league, currently with Jordan Love. I'm completely fine with punting quarterback in a league like this, like we said, because it's going to be so important for us to be building up the skill positions. But I do think that Justin Fields is a quarterback that's too good to be sitting out there on the waiver wire if you only have Jordan Love. Like, I think given the rushing ceiling that you get from Fields, a lot of weeks in good matchups, you would straight up start Justin Fields over Love himself. So I would like to pick up Justin Fields if we possibly could. The thing that we are going to be dealing with, though, will be what player do we potentially cut? Because the players that you have on the bottom end of your team are great. Like, I'm not wanting to cut Luther Burden. I'm not wanting to cut Tank Bigsby. So for us, I think, especially knowing that we don't have a lot of these names at wide receiver that are going to start super slow at the beginning of the year. Like our only rookie receivers are Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden. We don't have Rashee Rice. I think I would actually really try to upgrade at running back in the form of us going through and us trading away one of our depth receivers. I don't think you're going to get that much excitement from your league mates if you try to trade away Josh Downs. However, I do think that you will find somebody in your league that would be very excited to trade for Rome Odunze. So if there's a world in which you can try to package together Rome Odunze and Caleb Johnson, Rome Odunze and Travis Etienne, Rome Odunze and Joe Mixon, whoever your league mates would be most excited for, if I was trading for one of those running backs, I'd be most excited for Caleb Johnson. But if we could find a way to upgrade from Caleb Johnson and Rome Odunze to a running back like James Cook, maybe Marvin Harrison and Travis Etienne upgrade to a running back like Kyron Williams, upgrade to a running back like Alvin Kamara. If you could make that 2-for-1 upgrade, it would open up a roster spot for you. You'd be able to pick up Justin Fields off the waiver wire for free, then cycle through Jordan Love, Justin Fields week to week based off matchups. Then at running back, if we were sitting with like Genty, James Cook, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Tank Bigsby, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with our running back room, and we would still have Neighbors, JSN, Rome Odunze, Josh Downs, Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden at wide receiver. So I think it would balance out your team a bunch. I think it would help you at quarterback without having to cut one of these players that we're excited about in the bottom end of your bench. So again, the main thing that I think we want to do is we want to take one of those wide receivers, such as Marvin Harrison, package him with Jordan Love, try to go get the package him with Caleb Johnson, try to go get the running back upgrade, and then pick up Justin Fields off the waiver wire with your free roster spot. But as it stands, in terms of like any easy waiver wire moves that you can make right now without making a trade, probably don't see any because your team's too good at the bottom end of the bench. But let me go ahead and hook you up with some free questions. That way, if you have anything else that you want to follow up with, I'd be super happy to answer them for you, my friend. But let's move this over to our next team. That's going to be Hugo Flock. Says, hey, Mason, I have struggled in this league and would love any advice you could give me to set up for success this season. I used your 10-team, 2-quarterback sleeper draft sheet, tab 50, but did a pivot towards the end of the draft. I have Godwin and Harris on the IR, by the way, so we'll need to drop one bench because of Godwin. Thanks. Thank you. Here, real quick, let me definitely make sure that we are getting you some free questions over just in case you want to follow up with anything on this team during the year. And I will say that ignore the league analyzer here. It's not pulling in the superflex values. It's pulling in the one quarterback values. So honestly, your team's going to be a lot better than what it's saying based on what we have currently with how strong our quarterbacks are. So first things first, if we are determining like a position that we want to upgrade, obviously we need to be going out there. We need to be doing anything that we can to upgrade Cade Otton. This is going to be a shallow format. So if we are looking at the waiver wire, like there are starting quarterbacks out there like Daniel Jones. Like realistically here in an 8-team Superflex league, I don't know if Stafford is ever hitting your starting lineup. Like I know Hurts and Baker Mayfield both had the same bye week in week 9. But are we really wanting to roster Stafford all the way until week 9 just to hit our super flex spot? When you have like Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson out there on the waiver wire, you have exciting running backs like Bigsby, Braylon, you have Keon, you have Goddard. So the first thing I do with your team for sure is I drop Cade Otton and pick up Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert will be a much better tight end option for you. Then if we were looking at what we had to do in terms of dropping a name on this team, you said Najee Harris is on the IR. So we can't just say drop Najee. If you had to drop a name, I think it probably would be Stafford. Just because I don't know if we see the path for Stafford to really make a difference in your league for you. And then quarterback, we have Hurts, Baker, McCarthy. We have a great QB room. Running back, we have Chase Brown, Swift, Montgomery, Aaron Jones, JCM, Zach Charbonnet. We have a great running back room. Wide receiver, we'll have St. Brown, Nico, Evans, Terry, Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin. I think it's stupid simple with how strong your team is. What we need to do is we need to try to trade for an elite tight end. Like I'm going out there and I'm offering the Brock Bowers team, the combination of Dallas Goedert, Mike Evans for Brock Bowers. I'm offering Mike Evans and Dallas Goedert for Trey McBride. I'm offering Mike Evans and Dallas Goedert for George Kittle. Not that I don't like Mike Evans. I think Evans is set up to absolutely crush considering what you have with all the injuries to the Bucs wide receivers. But at the end of the day, I don't see how Evans is that much of a value add over a replacement when we consider the other options that we have out here at wide receiver with St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, and you have somebody like Keon Coleman out there on waivers as well. So I would do anything we could to try to make that upgrade at tight ends. If your league mates value Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin comparable, then I would definitely rather sell Terry. But I just think that you're probably not going to find a lot of people that be excited to give you an elite tight end for Terry the way that they would be for Mike Evans. Worst case scenario, we end up selling Nico Collins for Brock Bowers. which I wouldn't do in a regular fantasy football league, but in an 8-team league where wide receiver is so easy to come by, I think you could consider it here. But I think we probably opt to avoid that if we can. And then with that all being said as well, I think given all the injuries that we have to the Bucs wide receivers, in a super flex league like this where Aaron Jones is your RB4, I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to try to use Aaron Jones and Baker Mayfield to upgrade in a 2-for-1 deal to go get a quarterback like Joe Burrow. Go try to upgrade from JCM and Baker Mayfield to go get to a quarterback like Mahomes. But overall, you crushed this draft. I think you just, worst case scenario, if you can't upgrade tight end, cut Cade Otton for Dallas Goedert. Hopefully we can upgrade tight end, though, with that trade with Mike Evans. And then if we have to cut somebody here, I think you're probably going to end up cutting Stafford, because in an 8-team Superflex league, there should be more than enough quarterback production to go around, to be honest. Let me make sure I hook you up. Yeah, I sent you over those free questions as well. So I really do appreciate you. Now, let me move this over and let's answer some more of the quick hitting questions before we move to more team reviews. So Mr. Rager coming through with this question. This is Pacheco and Devontae Adams versus Cam Scatterbo and AJ Brown. I think this is going to be the AJ Brown side here in a 10-team league. AJ Brown's just in a different tier than these other guys. I'm not a big Cam Scatterbo guy this year, even though I have him in the flock league, but realistically, I think in a 10-team league, Pacheco's not going to matter as much as he would in a 12-teamer. Now, it looks like we're about to hit 1,000 likes in the stream, so we're going to give away some free start sit questions, trade questions. So if you haven't already, hit that like button and get ready to drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. Now, Vert says, is Charbonnet enough to start if I trade RJ Harvey? No, we would not be willing to. We wouldn't want to start Harvey, but the fact of the matter is this looks like it's a start 9 league. So if that's going to be the case, you need players in the flex spots too. So if Devonta Smith's going to be an upgrade in the flex over RJ Harvey, start 9 full PPR format, I'd go Smith. Now, Joshua coming through. This is Trevion Anderson, JSN, Brock Bowers for Jamar Chase and Loveland. This is a 2 wide receiver single flex format, 12-team league. We're upgrading from Bowers to Chase. We're giving up Henderson and JSN to do it. This is tough. If it was a double flex league, I would definitely prefer the package here. Left over, we would have Loveland and Pitts at tight end. Wide receiver, we'd have Worthy, Chase, Rome. Running back, we'd have Tracy, Kyron, Pollard. I think since it's a single flex format, you probably can afford to go out and get Chase. But I don't love it, to be honest. Okay. And it looks like we had 1,000 likes. So please drop your flockfantasy.com name in the chat, and we will pick somebody to give away those free vouchers to. MF Surfan coming with the trade. This is Kamara and Ridley for AJ Brown. Give me AJ Brown here. 10-team single flex format. We have Gibbs, Chase Brown, Judkins, Dobbins at running back. So we're fine at running back. Go get the best player. Bobby with the start sit. Running back, we're going to go ahead and we are going to be starting probably, we're going to start Travis Etienne week 1 and we're going to hate ourselves. And then in the flex spot, I think we're going to be starting Josh Downs if the hamstring's good. If not, you start RJ Harvey. Let's pick somebody random here. We got Burger J76. Hopefully this is your flockfantasy.com username, not your YouTube username, because obviously I can't look up a YouTube username on the site. Burger J76. All right, gotcha, my friend. It looks like you got the season pass, so you should have already had some free vouchers in your account, but let me go ahead and make sure we can hook you up some more. And if y'all want us to do some more free giveaways, just make sure you go down there and hit that like button. Okay, let's see. Big Boy Jimmy. I think this was a free giveaway earlier in the stream. Could be wrong. We've been live for quite some time. Here we're trading Herbert, JCM, Ted McMillan, Tyler Warren for Kyler Mooney and Kittle. So, Herbert to Kyler, upgrade. Ted to Kittle, upgrade. We're paying JSN and Tyler Warren to get it done. 10-team league. Kittle's the best player in the deal. I think we're going to go with the George Kittle side. It's not an easy trade by any stretch of the imagination. If it was a 12-team format, I probably wouldn't do it. Now, the real Alex coming with the trade. This is Henderson and Myers for London. I almost view Myers as a 0 at this point. I mean, he's not literally a 0. He's my wide receiver 49. But this is, in my opinion, him requesting a trade is not a good outcome this close to the season. So I would just take the best player. I'd take London. Now, Daniel Duad, 12-team PPR double flex. I have Tet, Golden, Igbuka, and Downs. Double flex format's going to be a little bit tougher. So afterwards, our starting lineup's going to be Jamar Chase, Tet McMillan at wide receiver, running back Bucky and Henderson, and the 2 flex spots, we're going to be starting like Igbuka and Golden. Single flex, easily give me Chase. I would be a little more hesitant to do it in a double flex league. Who are you going to be able to pick up off waivers? We could pick up Byshell Tootin off the waiver wire, probably the best skill position guy that we have. So sure, I think you go ahead and you get Jamar Chase. But it does make me nervous with our team, the depth, and the league settings. Okay. Let's see. We're going to refresh that. We had no more simple questions come in, so let's get back to the team reviews. So this next one's going to be coming out from Mr. W243. Let me hook you up with some free questions here, my friend. So you should have some free vouchers in your account. You are the money team. We are currently 3rd in the league analyzer. Pretty even league overall. This is a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, single flex formats. We are very weak at quarterback. I think the first thing that I would do for sure is I would cut Stafford with just him having literally 0 rushing upside. I don't see the appeal with Stafford in comparison to what you're going to get with somebody like JJ McCarthy. So I would honestly rather have McCarthy here. So cut Stafford, pick up McCarthy. We're going to start Purdy early. If McCarthy ends up crushing, then at that point, maybe we can transition over and start playing the matchups. Running back, we have Achane, Kyron, Javonte, Brian Robinson, Will Shipley. I would cut Will Shipley in favor of Byshell Tootin. I think if you look at the prospect profile for Tootin and the fact that this is a brand new coaching staff in Jacksonville, there's a non-0% chance that at some point he just wins the starting job in Jacksonville, and he was an elite athlete coming out of school as well. So cut Shipley, pick up Tootin, cut Stafford, pick up McCarthy. Wide receiver, post Adam Thielen trade. I think cutting Hollywood for Leggett is in play. I'm not going to fault you with going Hollywood early, though, given the Rashee Rice suspension. And then going over to tight end, definitely we want to be holding on to Cade Otton over the options on the waiver wire. So looking at our starting lineup early in the season, we're going to be starting Achane, Kyron at running back. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Adams. And in the flex, we have Waddle. And then down on the bench, we're going to have Diggs, Javonte, and Pittman. So because of the Rashee Rice suspension, you're in a position where we don't have enough expendable value where it'd be very easy for us to just turn around and try to move off of a player like Jalen Waddle to go get a tight end upgrade. Like selling Waddle and Otton to go get Sam Laporta is going to be very difficult. Selling Adams and Purdy to go get to George Kittle's, Adams and Otton to get to George Kittle is going to be very difficult. Selling Adams and Purdy to get to Jaden Daniels is going to be very difficult, because then all of a sudden we know we're going to have to be relying on Stephon Diggs, and we would need him to be a difference-making player in our roster rather than him just being an upside shot on our bench at the moment. So the Rashee Rice suspension really limits your overall ability to make trades early in the season. I think that this is a team that you are for sure going to be able to get by. You're for sure going to be fine early in the year with the Rice suspension because we have the wide receiver depth at this point. But we are just going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to quarterback and tight end. So once we actually get the ability to have an expendable wide receiver, and Waddle turns into our wide receiver 4 once Rashee Rice is back from his suspension, then at that point, I do think that we look to trade Davante Adams and Cade Otton for George Kittle. We look to trade Davante Adams and Brock Purdy for Jalen Hurts. We look to trade Jalen Waddle and Purdy for Hurts, if we can do that. Waddle and Purdy for Burrow. So halfway through the season, there will be trades that we want to make. Right now, it's just a little too early to be pulling the trigger until we get the Rashee Rice addition. Or you may not even need the Rashee Rice addition. Maybe instead, you end up getting a Stephon Diggs breakout. Like if you get a Stephon Diggs breakout, then at that point, you do have that expendable asset where you're able to pivot over and you're able to say, you know what, I can't afford to go through and I can't afford to trade Diggs before Rashee Rice comes back. To go get that tight end or quarterback upgrade. But for now, you're going to have to hold on to the skill position names just because, again, you're in a position where you don't have a lot of depth with Rice missing the first 6 weeks. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, if there's anything that I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be super happy to help you out. You should have some of those free questions. Okay, so let's move this over. Mind Trick says, are the draft sheets going to be updated before Friday? I have 3 drafts this weekend, and those are going to come in clutch. Yes, I'm going to start updating the draft sheets tomorrow. That way I can guarantee that they are out for everybody on Friday morning for your drafts this weekend, because I know a lot of people are drafting this weekend. Leonardo says, is the $34 pass just until the end of the year or into the season? About to sign up. The $34 pass is going to last you until January 1st. So you'll get access to everything on the site, all the tools, all the rankings, all the premium posts until January 1st. And then your access will go away. But if you're just drafting, if you're just like on a regular ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo League, that should be more than enough for you. The only scenario in which you would need access really beyond January 1st would be if you play in a dynasty league, which if you play in a dynasty league, I would probably recommend the annual Mother Flocker. Okay. So DHX Monsters says, obviously a little weak at quarterback, but may try to trade given our wide receiver room being so deep. Curious on your thoughts overall. Let me go ahead and set you up with a couple of these free vouchers, my friend. And looking at your league settings, this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So yeah, wide receiver depth's not going to matter much. We are currently the 2nd team in the league analyzer, which we love to see. And yeah, quarterback's going to be pretty damn weak for us, and so will tight ends. Quarterback, we have the last place team in the league analyzer with Jared Goff and Bryce Young. Tight end, we have the 8th best tight end room with only Tyler Warren. And I'm not saying Tyler Warren's weak. Obviously, Tyler Warren has a lot of upside. I'm just saying that typically in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would like having the elite names at both these positions. And we don't have the elite names at either one of the positions for now. But looking at what we have at running back, we are loaded. We have Jahmyr Gibbs. We have Kyron Williams. So we have 2 running back ones, and one of them being an elite RB1. Wide receiver, we have London Harrison, Xavier Worthy, Tet McMillan, Egbuka. So realistically, we have 5 wide receivers that could be viewed as locked and loaded starters for a lot of people in your league. And at the same time, you're in a situation in which you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So given the league settings here and the depth that we have at the wide receiver position, I would agree with you that we do want to go ahead and we want to try to sell a wide receiver depth piece and see if we can get an upgrade at quarterback. Because if we go through and we look at the options on the waiver wire names aren't going to be super exciting. I'll say before we were to do anything, even though I have Rashad Bateman ranked higher than him, because you are so loaded at wide receiver, if you're unable to make a deal, I think that Rashad Bateman would literally never hit your starting lineup here. And somebody that potentially could hit your starting lineup would instead end up being Byshell Tootin. So I wouldn't hate the idea if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to cut Rashad Bateman for Tootin. Definitely not something that you need to do, but something that you could consider. Now, looking at what we could do with trade specifically, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the teams with the elite level QBs. So this team sitting with Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love. So you'd assume that this team, if they have Lamar and Love, they would be comfortable possibly sending away Lamar Jackson. If we're looking at the wide receivers that we have ranked comparably, I guess it would be Marvin Harrison is your closest name. So I would go ahead and I would approach this team and tell them like, hey, Jordan Love's great. I mean, I'm sure you already know this, and I'm sure you know that you're good at quarterback. Obviously, we wouldn't be that excited if Jordan Love was our only QB, but we got to gas him up a bit. And if we could send Marvin Harrison and send Jared Goff in a 2-for-1 package to be able to go out there and get Lamar Jackson, I think that would be a very exciting swap for us. Going over and looking at the team that has Jaden Daniels, this team just clearly has no idea what the hell they're doing. They're rostering Shadur Sanders as their QB3 on a Jaden Daniels team. If we want to maybe offer them, go like, hey, we'll give you a Jared Goff and Marvin Harrison for Jaden Daniels. I mean, I think that's another move that would be kind of a no-brainer for us, considering the fact that, I mean, you're sitting here with Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Tet McMillan, Igbuka as your viable wide receivers after that point. Going over and looking at the other teams with top-end quarterbacks here, this team has Josh Allen. I mean, they're okay at wide receiver. They're just so weak at running back. The issue is I don't necessarily know if we can afford to give up one of our running backs, right? There's no way like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt gets us Josh Allen. We're not going to be that delusional. And like, I'm not wanting to trade away Kyron Williams. Then all of a sudden we're just left over with absolutely nothing. So I think the Harrison type deal, or maybe we can sell Worthy high with the Rashee Rice stuff. Maybe if you could sell either sell either Harrison or Worthy, go out there, get that upgrade to the elite quarterback. That would be ideal. If those teams with the elite quarterbacks aren't interested in making a trade, I still think you need to really aggressively pursue trading for an elite onesie because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. I think you really do need to aggressively try to sell one of these receivers. Then at that point, I think we would move over to the elite tight ends, and we would go ahead and we would start offering like Marvin Harrison and Tyler Warren for Bowers, Marvin Harrison and Tyler Warren for McBride. We would potentially go out there and try to offer Xavier Worthy and Tyler Warren for George Kittle. But again, the first thing that we are going to be doing again would be the play for the elite level quarterback, given your league settings and given your current roster. But I really do appreciate you, and I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And let me make sure, you do have those free questions. So if there's anything else that you want to follow up with here, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. Now, Salty coming through with the team review says 10-team full PPR was pick 5. Okay, here, real quick. Let me take advantage. It says failed the fetch leaderboard, so I think we need to sign in, sign out real quick. But as I do this, I want to remind y'all, if you haven't already, go down there, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We are live streaming every single day until Christmas, answering fantasy football questions. We've been live for about 2.5 hours so far today. And we're going to be live streaming tonight as well, when we will be doing underdog drafts. And also, if y'all wanted to get free vouchers to send in questions for these live streams, they actually come with the season pass. The season pass is going to get you set up with absolutely everything on flockfantasy.com until January 1st, including all the tools, all the updated rankings. That will be updated every single week for you, both rest of season and weekly. And when you use code FLOCK, you're going to be getting free vouchers to send questions in to me when we are doing these live streams every single day as well, which is why if you see so many of the start sit questions, trade questions we're answering, they are free. It's from people who have that season pass. But Salty coming through says 10-team full PPR was pick 5, had no choice but to take HN in the second round. Wide receivers are terrible. We are currently sitting with the 4th spot in the league analyzer. We just got word officially that Rashee Rice is suspended. And this is a league in which depth matters a little bit more. Now, the options on the waiver wire are going to be great because it's a 10-team format as opposed to a 12-team league, but you can get 4 starting players into your starting lineup. So with that in mind, you are not necessarily wanting to just go all in to get yourself an elite quarterback and an elite tight ends. Like you actually do want to have some balance and you want to have some depth when it comes to when it comes to wide receiver and running back here in a league like this. And when we are looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Josh Allen, so we have the elite level option. We definitely don't need to roster another guy. Going over to running back, I know maybe you're a little bit concerned with the Devon Achane injury, but at the end of the day, they are telling us that Achane's good to go right now for week 1. So for me, when I look at some of these options on your waiver wire, I would say that there's like no justification that we can have at this point for rostering Ollie Gordon ahead of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Like I think you're going to have to go through, drop Ollie Gordon, pick up JCM. That's a relatively easy swap. And then afterwards, you'll have Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Jordan Mason, Tank Bigsby, and JCM at running back. You'll have arguably the best running back room in the league, where we are sitting here with 2 potential high-end RB1s. Even if Achane's currently banged up at this point, you still have an incredible ceiling for Devon Achane rest of season, and it's not a guarantee that Achane is going to be missing any time. I mean, right now, I'm projecting him out to play the first week because that's all we've heard coming out of this. Now, going over to receiver, this is where things maybe are a little bit difficult because we have the Rashee Rice suspension. So again, wide receiver depth is going to matter a little bit more in a format like this. This is a league in which you can start up to 4 wide receivers. We have Metcalf, Rice, Rome, Golden, Debo, and Keon. Looking at the options that we have on the waiver wire when it comes to the wide receiver position, you have like Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman. So I guess you could make an argument for Mooney if he is healthy to get him in your starting lineup. But it's not something that we can be super confident with, right? And then we have the elite tight end with George Kittle. So if we're looking at this, God, the Rice suspension sucks for your team. It limits you so much. Like we have the elite running backs. We have Metcalf wide receiver 1, Rome wide receiver 2, Golden and Debo in the flex spots. You're just going to be so weak when it comes to wide receiver and flex. And it's a 10-team league, right? So I think that there is a chance that you fall behind to your league mates early in the season. I wouldn't hate the idea of exploring a potential Rashee Rice trade for this team specifically. The only scenario in which we don't trade, the scenario in which we are perfectly fine here is if your league mates allow us to put a wide receiver on, a suspended player on the IR. If you can put a suspended player on the IR, then you're absolutely chilling. We move Rashee Rice to the IR, and then at that point, you're able to go through and you are able to relatively easily just churn through these wide receivers on the waiver wire like Mooney, Bateman, Luther, Burden, Leggett. Like you're going to be just fine. But if you have to hold on to Rice at the bottom end of your bench, it's going to be difficult for you to make waiver wire moves in a league where the waiver wire is pretty good. So I think I would try to sell like Rice and Metcalf to get up to a wide receiver that probably went in round 2 of your draft. Like here, if you wanted to go Rice and Metcalf to go try to get AJ Brown, to try to go get Drake London, obviously much easier said than done, but those are moves that I think I'd be very excited to make if we could. Again, if you could put Rice on the IR, then I'm not going to be stressing nearly as much about this. I think you're going to kind of be fine in that case. But I don't see any other potential move that you could make other than obviously drop Ollie Gordon and pick up Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. The second you do that, all of a sudden you are actually going to probably rise up to be the second team in the league analyzer if I had to bet. But I I have anything else for you here. I really wish I had more. It's just the Rashee Rice suspension boxes you in a league where you need wide receiver depth. And we have the elite quarterback, the elite tight ends. So at least we get to spend the extra roster spots on our bench at running back there. But the Rice suspension hurts your team. You would be completely fine if you only had 2 wide receivers and 1 flex as your starting lineup requirements. It's just tougher because of the depth your team needs. But I appreciate you, and I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And yeah, thank you so much. Like I said, I hooked you up with some of those free vouchers as well. So if there's anything that you want to follow up with this team for, I'd be happy. Check it out for you. Okay, so let's move this over to our next team. This is going to be coming out from Vesper. And I'm actually going to see if we have any quick questions to answer on the site to take a small little break from the team reviews. So Drew2 Huncho says, who should I flex with Rice suspended and should we get Ford? If we were going to get Ford, what you would have to drop like Stevenson or Eckler. So probably no. I would go ahead and honestly, if this is my team, I'd start Ted McMillan. Full PBR format. So I think you go with the wide receiver over the running back there. I mean, it's hard to project any of the running backs or receivers you have at this point. Like, I don't know exactly what the role is going to be for Ted McMillan week 1, but I don't know exactly what the role is going to be for Dobbins. I don't know exactly what the role is going to be for like Austin Eckler. Like JCM could just be the guy. He could be nothing. We don't know. Now, Chris coming through. This is a trade where we send JSN. We get Tracy, Pickens, and Tesla. This would be horrible. Yeah, you please keep JCM. I'm sorry, JSN. I know that Isaac Tesla's a little more exciting now that you have the Tim Patrick trade, but still, he's effectively a 0 in redraft. Ronnie says, buy low and Rice or keep my team the way that it is. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. You're not starting Harvey early anyway, and I'm pretty sure that Rashee Rice is going to be in a good spot to go for your starting lineup week 7 and beyond. So I know we're not starting RJ Harvey in your team early. I know we're not starting Rashee Rice in your team early. I know we would start Rashee Rice on your team late in the season. And in your format, I don't know if we would start RJ Harvey late in the season. So we're going to go with Rice. Now, Los CV29 coming through says, want to upgrade my running backs. Am I selling too low on Brian Thomas? We're moving Brian Thomas and Breece Hall for Chase Brown and Ladd McConkey. I think you are selling too low on Brian Thomas. For me personally, I do view Brian Thomas in a different tier than I have Chase Brown. Like, you know, I love me some Chase Brown. I think that Chase Brown does have a crazy high ceiling. But it's going to be a little bit tough for me to justify like this kind of price. I do view Ladd McConkey in a different tier than Breece Hall. But I would rather, like, I view Brian Thomas as, I know this year you probably got him around 2, but I view him as a player that in most fantasy football draft seasons should be around 1 pick. It's just that this year there's so many exciting names. Now let's go through and let's check out Vesper's team. I really appreciate you sending this in, my friend. For future reference, you should be able to link your team. I'm going to set you up with some free questions. Make sure you link your ESPN team with the site. And then that way I can actually get a lot more information when we go through and look at your team, look at your stuff with your league settings. But here, this is a league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So the wide receiver running back depth's not going to matter that much. And typically 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. I would like having an elite quarterback. I would like having an elite tight end if we could get one. Now we are currently sitting with Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker as our 2 running backs. So obviously I think that these are 2 exciting RBs to have as RB1, RB2. David Montgomery, RB3, Travis Etienne, RB4. You have plenty of running back depth. I really like what we have at running back. Going over to receiver, we are sitting with Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Jerry Jeudy. So Nico, I'm assuming, was our round 1 pick, Jacobs round 2 pick, Walker round 3 pick, Wilson round 4 pick. So I like what we have at receiver. We have Jerry Jeudy in the flex spot. Down here on the bench, we have Leggett, and that's it. I'm fine with us not having much wide receiver depth on the bottom end of our bench, considering the fact that this is a team in which you only have 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, so it's not like you can get a ton of wide receivers in your starting lineup. And then when we look at quarterback and tight end, we have Brock Purdy and Loveland, and then we have Fields and Ferguson. So I am completely fine with this range of quarterback and this range of tight end for us to be rostering both 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, because we waited until the very end of our draft for both of those positions, and we primarily focused in on running back and wide receiver early. Like, I could see there being a world in which you're kind of going back and forth with these guys the majority of this season, right? Where, given the rushing upside that you're going to get with Justin Fields, like, Fields very realistically could be a starting quarterback for you a lot of weeks over Brock Purdy if the matchup's there and if he's been performing well. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with us rostering more running backs than wide receivers in the bottom end of our team, considering the fact that running backs just have a wider range of outcomes and are more predictable than typically the wide receivers in like the Xavier Leggett range. Couple adjustments that I would want to make, though. Justice Hill's a running back that I draft a lot in like underdog best ball drafts. However, I don't know if he is somebody that's going to matter in a regular redraft league. Because in an underdog best ball draft, I like him because I can sit here and I can go, oh, okay, well, with Justice Hill, I know he's going to have the receiving role, so he's randomly going to slide into our starting lineup a lot of these weeks. And if he's randomly sliding into our starting lineup a lot of these weeks, that's usable when I don't need to predict when it's going to happen. But for you to have him in your regular managed redraft league, how the hell are you ever going to know when you start Justice Hill? And the thing is with Hill, he's a running back that if you were to get an injury to Derrick Henry, his weekly projection's not going to change much. Like, Justice Hill and Derrick Henry almost effectively played 2 completely different positions. So I don't see a path to Justice Hill turning into like a no-brainer start. So I would cut Justice Hill. I would look for a different running back off the waiver wire. If you link your team with the site, you should get some insight on what kind of running back that should be. And then it seems like we don't have any player on our bench where it's like a no-brainer where we know, oh yeah, we can easily sell, say like if we were sitting here with Chris Olave on our bench, oh, we can sell Olave and we can sell our tight end and we can go out there, we can get an upgrade to an elite level tight end option. The fact of the matter is we don't have a player with that profile. We are sitting there with players on our bench that are actually kind of usable for us. So I love your team. I think you did a great job structuring it. The only thing I would do is I would cut the backup defense. I would cut Justice Hill. I would pick up 2 running backs off the waiver wire that you can kind of say like, oh, okay, if they were to see an injury in their own backfields, then all of a sudden they do turn into must-start players. Or if their situation were to change, you could just see them improving overall. We're just like Justice Hill, that's not going to occur with. And then at the same time, if we were looking at, say, the backup defense, I mean, the backup defense may just kind of be irrelevant here. So I would go ahead, I'd make those 2 pivots. But when it comes to trades, I think you did a great job in your draft. And I don't necessarily know if you have like enough expendable value down there on the bench where it's like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. Let's go out there and let's trade for the elite quarterback. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And like I said, I sent you over some of those free start set trade question vouchers. So if there's anything else that you want help with, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be super happy to help you with it. Now, let's move this over to Bob Jeff 9000. Says, I'm projected dead last in my ESPN rankings. I need help, man. Well, you're 3rd in the league analyzer. So to be honest with you, I mean, I've done some of those ESPN mock drafts too for the channel, and I completely disagreed with the grades that ESPN gave at the end of every single draft that I did. I would highly recommend instead going ahead and just going off what the power rankings on the flockfantasy.com says. So here, like, I'm looking at your team. You're set up in a good spot. I like your roster. A lot of things that it has going for it. It is going to be a single flex format, so I would opt to have an elite quarterback and an elite tight end if we could. So I'm not a super big fan of us just sitting here with the combination of like Justin Fields and Zach Ertz. Like if this was a double flex league where it was super important to build around the wide receiver depth, then sure, I think we can go ahead and we can punt quarterback, we can punt tight end, we can be okay with being a little weaker at these positions. But when it comes to that single flex format, it's going to be a little tougher. If we are looking at what's available to us on the waiver wire, for me, I think Jonnu Smith versus Zach Ertz, they're kind of comparable. I would say that it would be nice to roster both, see what happens, and then play the matchups going forward. The difficulty with it is going to be if we look at the bottom end of your bench, your running backs and wide receivers are too good to cut for Jonnu Smith. So I think the reality of the situation is when we're sitting here with Zach Ertz, you're probably just going to more so wait, see what happens, and you'll be just kind of streaming the tight end position if we can't make a trade for a better one. Now, if we go over and we look at what we have at running back, we are loaded. We're third in the league at running back with a combination of Ashton Jeanty, Amari Hampton, Kenneth Walker. So obviously we'd expect naturally for the rookies to start a little bit slower, but Amari Hampton and Ashton Jeanty aren't the typical rookies. They profile to be 3-down bell cows. So I like your running back room a ton, especially in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Going over to wide receiver, this would potentially be where we would make some pivots. Where we are sitting with London, Ted McMillan, Jamison Williams, Rome Odunze, and Ricky Pearsall. So if we were looking at your wide receiver room at this point, I mean, I would really like to see if there's something that we can do to go ahead and upgrade at tight end or upgrade at quarterback. Like I would go to all the teams with the elite quarterbacks in our league, and I would offer them Ted McMillan. I would go, hey, let me give you a Ted McMillan and Justin Fields. Give me back Josh Allen. Give me back Lamar Jackson. Give me back Jaden Daniels. Give me back Jalen Hurts. See what they say. Maybe we can get one of them to bite. If none of them bite, then we're going to go, hey, let me give you a Ted McMillan and Zach Ertz. Let me get George Kittle. Let me give you a Drake London and Zach Ertz. And let me get Brock Bowers. So, again, there are 6 potential trade partners. Hopefully one of them needs a wide receiver. For the elite tight end like Bowers, I think the guy would be willing to sell would be London. If you were looking at the Flock League draft, you actually did have Ted McMillan getting drafted ahead of both Jaden Daniels as well as Jalen Hurts. So I think you are in play to potentially be able to make one of those swaps. Because when we're looking at your wide receiver position, you can only get 3 of these guys in your lineup in your league settings, and we're sitting with 6 to 7 startable names. Love how people say, yeah, no shot anyone even considers those offers. Brother, I look at way more fantasy football leagues than you do. I've seen way more fantasy football trades than you do. And my league by itself, I saw Ted McMillan get drafted ahead of Jalen Hurts. So respectfully, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be trying to approach 6 different owners, see if we can get one of them to bite, either for the elite quarterback or the elite tight end, for us either selling Drake London or Ted McMillan. But really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with that. And yeah, best of luck, my friend. Now, let's move this over to our next team. This is Devastator, says redraft league, optional 3-player keeper. should explain why the strongest teams absolutely dominated the draft. You're saying I kept no one and snagged Amon-Ra, Drake, and Jacobs instead. Okay, yeah, because this does definitely look like more of a dynasty league, right? So if we are looking at this team at 1 being so far ahead of the rest of the field, there's like no way in a regular fantasy football league, of course, that you're ever able to go and get Barkley, Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase all in the same team, and Trey McBride as well. But it being a 3-player keeper does explain that a lot. So looking at our team here, I think for the fact that we did not keep anybody, for us to be able to have Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, 4 players that in a 10-team league are borderline top 2-round picks, we are in a really good spot. I would assume in the majority of your keeper leagues, if you don't keep anybody, you'd kind of be screwed. But here you're fine. Quarterback, we have Kyler and Purdy. I don't love this quarterback room in a 10-team league, 12-team format. I think it'd be fine. I think you could play the matchups with it. Just 10-team league, it's going to be a little bit weaker. Running back, we have Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard. So it's nice to have Pollard as that like startable high volume guy early in the season. And then hopefully have Quinshon Judkins with upside and maybe it turn into a depth piece later in the year. And Tanner, my fault. I'm hangry right now. I shouldn't have said that. That's my B. I'm just sitting here. It's 3 p.m. I haven't eaten anything today. I went on a run. I was going to eat after my run. And then Rashee Rice got suspended and went, I guess I'm live streaming right now. So I may or may not be a little hangry, which I apologize for. Looking at receiver, we have St. Brown, London, Terry, Ridley. Tight end, we have Laporta and Goddard. You have a great team. If this was a league where it's a start 8 format where you have multiple flex spots, there we're a little more inclined to not worry about quarterback and tight end, and I would not do anything in your league. However, if we're in a spot where this is a single flex format and we have to go into week 1 with Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, both on our bench, I would love to do what we could to try to upgrade to that elite level quarterback in this league as well. Like, I think I would go out there and I would see, is there a world in which I can sell Terry McLaurin and Kyler Murray for Hurts or Daniels? You're probably not going to get to Allen Lamar, but maybe you get Hurts to Daniels. Is there a world in which we can sell Terry and Laporta and get to Bowers, Kittle, McBride? 99% chance you don't get Bowers, but can't hurt to send the offer. Can't hurt to send the offer for McBride. Can't hurt to send the offer for Kittle. And then one other thing that we could potentially consider here as well is you could consider selling Pollard. 2 wide receiver, single flex format where we have Chase Brown, we have Josh Jacobs. So we have the top end production at the very top. I love top end production at the very top. Clearly I'm losing my mind. But we have the hammers at the top at running back. There are going to be other teams in your league that actually could use some production at the running back position, especially early with some of these guys that are dealing with injuries. And the fact that Pollard looks like he's just going to have so much volume in the first 4 weeks, but we don't really need him there anyway because we can throw Terry in the flex. I wouldn't mind at all going through and seeing if you could try to package together, like, hypothetically, let's say you can sell Terry and Laporta and you can go get Kittle. Terry and Laporta, you can go get McBride. Or Terry and Kyler and you can go get Hurts. Terry and Kyler and you can go get Daniels. At that point, I think you could even take it one step further here in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex where you're so strong at the top and we're not going to be as worried about depth. I think you could try to package together Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley to go get a tier up at wide receiver and go get one of those wide receivers that went at the 2-3 turn in your draft if we can find a team that needs some help at running back. Like, can we go get a wide receiver that would have gone at the beginning of the 3rd round here in a 10-team league like Ladd McConkey? So you for sure should be making trades with your team. You for sure killed your draft. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to contend with this team at the top. But I think we try to go out there and I think we try to sell Pollard, McLaurin, and go get ourselves either an elite quarterback or an elite tight end because it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, single flex format. But let me move over to our next team here. And I'm actually going to see if we have any quick questions that we can answer if anybody's waiting on. Okay, so here we have a quick question. L. Stowers with the trade. This is Henderson, JCM, Chase Brown for Chuba, Josh Jacobs, Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams is a legitimate 0. Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs are about the same. I would rather have Trevion Henderson and JCM, so I'm going to go with the Trevion Henderson, JCM, and Chase Brown side pretty easily. Now, general 4-1 league coming through. Here, this is a start sit question where we need help with the flex, where we're choosing between Kenneth Walker, Kamara, and Xavier Worthy. It's a full PPR format. Obviously, I would love to lock Worthy in if we could, but I think full PPR league, especially early in the season where we've seen over the past few years, early in the years when Kamara just absolutely goes nuclear and you do see him tail off as the season goes on. But I think you have to aggressively rank Alvin Kamara early in the season in a full PPR league. Now, next question is going to come out from Chance1310. Says, don't know who to start or try to trade. Running back, yeah, we are in a tough spot week 1. I would go with RJ Harvey over Caleb Johnson week 1. Because while I think both running backs are going to start very slow, at the very minimum with RJ Harvey, at least it looks to be a good game environment for the Denver Broncos running backs, where I don't know if I can say the same thing about the Steelers RBs. Now, LB727 is trading Neighbors to Nico. In my opinion, that's a lateral move and a personal preference. Garrett Wilson to Tet McMillan, in my opinion, that's going to be a downgrade. And Nick Chubb to JCM, and in my opinion, that is an upgrade. So in my opinion, this overall deal is going to be a fair one, and it's going to come down to what you prefer. But we will... Honestly, I think it's just going to be up to you, to be frank. Now, I've been coming out with our next question. It says, would you do this trade? I need a wide receiver too. So we'd be trading Bowers for JSN, clear downgrade. Rice to Godwin, clear downgrade. No, I mean, you need Bowers. It's a 2 wide receiver single flex format. So if it's a 2 wide receiver single flex format, I think you're much better off just holding on to the elite positional advantage that you're going to get with Brock Bowers. I mean, wide receiver early in the season, we have Chase and Matthew Golden. So I mean, having Jamar Chase does give you a lot of flexibility. Okay. So let's see if we have any more quick questions, or we can bounce to. Okay. Money Mitch coming through this. Jalen Hurts versus Alvin Kamara. Looking at our team, it's a start 9 league. We have Fields at quarterback, running back. We have literally nobody. We have Tony Pollard, and that's it. So start 9 format where depth's going to matter at running back and wide receiver, and we have nobody at running back. I think, yeah, you go ahead and I think you take Alvin Kamara, to be honest with you. Okay. And then let's move this over and let's get to some more of these teams. Trevor says, how should we handle these draft sheets? What's the main difference in drafting from a start 7 and a start 8 perspective? You should see it if you got the season pass and you have access to all those sheets. But the start 7 will move up quarterback and tight ends. The start 8s will be a little higher on wide receivers and running backs. But let's, Devin says, I have a season pass, can't leak teams on an iPhone. You should be able to link your Yahoo leagues and your sleeper leagues on your phone. ESPN is a little bit tougher, where with ESPN, you do actually need a link initially with the computer because you have to add in a browser extension because you need credentials for ESPN. So ESPN, yes, you need to be on a computer to link your team the first time, but then to access your team anytime afterwards, you are good to go with your phone. You can just pull it up whenever you want. But the initial link, yes, is on your computer for ESPN. Alda says, just tuning in. Where'd you get the hat, bro? Looks cool. Thank you, my friend. This hat I got at the LA Marathon this year, which It's a hat that I wear running occasionally. And typically you won't see it in the live stream because typically I shower before streams, but we had the Rashee Rice news. And so I had to get back and just start streaming immediately. But why win coming through with the team review? Really appreciate you, my friend. And we got Teresa in the chat. But let's hook up why win with a couple of these free questions. And this is going to be an ESPN league, so you should be able to link your team with the site, my friend. Definitely for future reference, link your team, and that way I can go ahead and I can hopefully give you a little bit more personalized advice. Look at the other teams in your league, the whole 9 yards. But here, anyway, this is a 2 wide receiver single flex format. So the depth here isn't going to matter that much. I would like to have an elite quarterback and an elite tight end in a league like this. But quarterback, we are sitting with Brock Purdy. And then over here on the bench, we do not have another QB. So the first thing is I can't see your exact waiver wire because the team's not linked. But what I can be very confident with is I can say that you will have a better option on your waiver wire than Tyler Lockett. Please go ahead, cut Tyler Lockett, find somebody else, find almost anybody else, to be honest. Let's see. Cole says, did the price of a team review increase from last season? No, there have been no increases to any of the prices on flockfantasy.com. The prices have actually only decreased, where I wouldn't recommend anybody to buy a team review just for the regular sticker price of $79. If you were going to get a team review, I'd just get the annual Mother Flocker membership, because there it comes with a free team review and free vouchers for start, sit, trade. And you get access to everything on the site for 365 days a year. And also the start, sit questions, trade questions have actually just gotten a lot cheaper, which you're going to be able to tell because I'm going to be live streaming way more because way more people are getting them. Because if you get the season pass to flockfantasy.com, you'll actually get set up with free vouchers for trade questions and start, sit questions. Do y'all see that little girl in the back opening the store? You can come in. Come on. Come on. You want to show everybody how pretty you are with your bandana? Look at this. Look at this pretty girl. Oh, do you see that bandana? I know. I know. I've been in here for a while, haven't I? Prettiest girl in the world right here. Oh, okay. I know, baby. I'll close that. All right. Let's move this back over. I'm sorry to get derailed here with your team review. Why win? Let's move this back. Here, if we were looking at quarterback, again, I think you're in a position in which you could afford to actually roster 2 of these, because we are sitting with Brock Purdy as a quarterback that I'm assuming we kind of just got at the very end. So if you had a quarterback like Justin Fields out there on your waiver wire, I wouldn't mind at all, or like Caleb Williams, especially if you have Caleb. I wouldn't mind at all cutting Tyler Lockett, picking up another quarterback like Caleb or Fields, and then playing the matchups with these guys through the season. Running back, we have Bucky, Isaiah Pacheco. Down on the bench, we are currently sitting with Ray Davis, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall. So a really strong running back room. And I would also say that I'm probably going to be starting Breece Hall over Jalen Waddle there in the flex. If you wanted to really get Waddle in your lineup, I would actually probably take out Pacheco, put Breece in at running back if you really wanted to start Waddle in the flex. Looking at what we have with the wide receivers, we have Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle. Down on the bench, we are sitting with Josh Downs, Tyler Lockett. Again, I think you can be very safe to cut Tyler Lockett here. And then going over to tight end, we have Evan Ingram. So overall, I actually really do like your team. I think you got a lot of strong value in the draft. If we were to do anything, I think it's centered around trying to upgrade the quarterback position in a 2 wide receiver single flex format. Because right now, if you were to look at your team, you do project out to have like Travis Etienne, Josh Downs, and Jalen Waddle on your bench. If you could find somebody to value Jalen Waddle and give us, the thing is, you're not going to be able to get Hurts. You're not going to be able to get Daniels for him. If we were to try to get one of those quarterbacks, What you could actually do instead is try to trade one of the better wide receivers. That way we can take advantage and you can get a player like Waddle and Breece in your lineup at the same time. So if you wanted to try to sell like Devontae Adams as an example and move Devontae Adams in a 2-for-1 deal where we could potentially go Adams and Purdy to get to Lamar, Adams and Purdy to get to Allen, Adams and Purdy to get to Hurts, Adams and Purdy to get to Daniels. And then that would open up a roster spot for us. We could go ahead and what we could do is we could pick up an additional depth running back off the waiver wire. We cut Tyler Lockett, pick up another running back off the waiver wire, move Jalen Waddle there into the second wide receiver slot, and really hope that we can hit on the next player like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So overall, I think you did a great job in your draft. I just think that you could probably afford to go ahead and upgrade to one of those elite level QBs. And then I would also, if you can't get that quarterback upgrade, if all those teams reject you, I would also offer Devontae Adams and Evan Ingram to see if we can get to Bowers, see if we could get to McBride. But I think you're also honestly more unlikely to get the tight end deal done than you would be the quarterback one. But appreciate you. And let me make sure I sent you over those free questions too. So if you have any follow-ups, I'd be happy to look at it for you. Now, let's move this over to Bart Joe. Says, give me my best and worst pick and any weaknesses I should try to improve. Thanks, guys. Good luck this season. Appreciate you, my friend. We are sitting here with the number 2 team in the league analyzer. With this, we have the 11th best tight end room, the number 1 best wide receiver room, the 8th best running back room, and the 3rd best quarterback room. This is a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 quarterback, full PPR format. So for me, I think a very easy thing that I'm going to do right now, and I have Josh Allen on my fantasy football team as well, and I am not going to be rostering a backup quarterback. So if I were you, to be honest with you, I would go ahead and I would actually drop Jordan Love, and I would be able to spend an extra roster spot there at either running back or wide receiver. So I think you just roll with Josh Allen going into the season. If we are looking at the best options on your waiver wire right now, you do have the Browns guys. You can pick up Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. I wouldn't want to be rostering too many receivers, so I don't know if I would run out there and get Bateman. Okay. And looking at what we have with our running back room, we have Hampton, Hubbard, Javonte, Benson, Ramadre. So definitely we have upside at running back, but I don't think we have like the guaranteed stud production the way that we do with the wide receivers. So I think I'd be more inclined personally to roster as many running backs as possible. So again, I would cut Jordan Love, pick up one of the Browns running backs that potentially could be a starting RB week 1. Honestly, just whoever you'd prefer between the two. And then looking at receiver, where we're sitting with Lamb, London, Devonta Smith, Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, obviously, we have the best wide receiver room by far in this league. It's why we are top 2 in the league analyzer. And what I'd probably be looking to do is I'd probably be looking to sell one of these wide receiver pieces. I think you can do this in a couple different ways. I think you could try to go after a running back here if you would like. If we can find a team that's pretty low at wide receiver, let's just sort the teams by best to worst wide receiver rooms. This team here at the very bottom just lost Rashee Rice. So this team at the bottom has no Rice at the beginning of the season, has no Chris Godwin at the beginning of the season. Their wide receiver 1 is Deebo Samuel. Their wide receiver 2 is Cooper Kupp. Their wide receiver 3 is Keenan Allen. However, they have a pretty good team at running back and tight end. So I am right this second going and trying to approach this team to give them a wide receiver for us to get a running back or a tight end upgrade. Couple different ways we can go about this. We could try to offer them Drake London and Chuba Hubbard to get to Saquon Barkley. I know that seems aggressive, but we're going to try to take advantage of them. We're not giving them our first offer right out the gate. Send them London and Chuba, try to get to Barkley, round 2 pick, round 3 pick, try to get that round 1 pick. I would also go through and look to see if we could snag Bowers from them. The thing with Bowers is I think you're in such a positional advantage over them that I don't know if I would go with the strong enough. I don't know if I would go with such a strong offer of like London and Loveland immediately for Brock Bowers. Again, we're going to try to take advantage of this team as they are just extremely desperate. And we're going to be trying to get that upgrade at running back instead. So I think you try to go get Barkley from them. Another way that you can go about this is if you wanted to try to send like Ricky Pearsall and Chuba Hubbard to get to Kyron Williams. If they say no, Devonta Smith and Chuba Hubbard for Kyron Williams would also be in play. But definitely try to take advantage of this team. Try to go get one of those running back upgrades. And then you could also throw them just an absolute garbage offer of Devonta Smith and Loveland for Bowers and see what they say. But yeah, that team should be panicking at receiver. This team's garbage at wide receiver as well. Their wide receiver 3 is Darnell Mooney. Issue with this team, though, is it's garbage overall. They don't have any value for you. I mean, they have James Cook. If we view James Cook in a different tier than Chuba Hubbard, you could try to offer like Ricky Pearsall and Chuba Hubbard for James Cook if you wanted to do that. But again, that team's just extremely weak. This team has plenty of wide receiver depth, just doesn't have the top end receiver. This team's fine at wide receiver. This team's fine at receiver. Like most teams in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league are going to be fine at receiver. So I think you go and you try to attack that one team specifically. And then outside of that, again, I think we just cut Jordan Love. We pick up the running back off the waiver wire that you like, whether that's Ford or Sampson, kind of up to you. And then I think we try to sell one of our depth wide receivers to upgrade running back or tight end. And based on the teams that look to be wide receiver needy and that should be desperate, I think we're more likely to go ahead and probably get the running back from them. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. And again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. Now let's move this over to Killamonsta 23. This is a Mansters. We are currently sitting in the middle of the league in the league analyzer. We are in the 5th spot. It's a 10-team league, so options on the waiver wire should be pretty good. But with that in mind, you're in a spot where it's not like depth doesn't matter because you can get up to 4 wide receivers in our starting lineup weekly. So it's not like we can exploit this league and just go get an elite tight end and an elite quarterback and call it a day. Here, looking at what we have when it comes to the quarterback position, we have Lamar Jackson. Obviously, there's nothing to discuss. We are sitting pretty. We do not have to roster another quarterback. We are just good to go. Now, when it comes to what we have with some of these other positions, there is some room for improvement. Running back, the first thing that I would do is go hit the waiver wire because there are great running backs out there. I understand that you do have HN dealing with an injury, so I know a lot of people are excited about the possibility of Ollie Gordon. But the fact of the matter is Trey Benson is just a much better running back than Ollie Gordon, and it looks like HN's going to go week 1 based off the reports that have come out. So if this were my team, I would cut Ollie Gordon. I would go ahead and I would pick up Trey Benson, and I'm pretty confident in saying that as well. Looking at what we have with the top end of the running back position, we have McCaffrey, Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. So we are sitting pretty at running back. We are in a phenomenal spot. I mean, if, and this is a big if, you could go through and you could trade Nick Chubb and a 2-for-1 deal to get an upgrade anywhere, we would, because even if Nick Chubb's a starting quarterback in the NFL, realistically speaking, he's just simply never going to be hitting our personal lineup because our team is going to be a little too good. So I would like to sell Chubb to get an upgrade literally anywhere. But 10-team league, most people are going to be fine where they're not going to have to go through and they're not going to have to trade for the underwhelming ceiling play just because he's going to see touches early on. Going over to wide receiver, we are sitting with Devontae Adams, Devonta Smith, Egbuka, Ridley, Olave, Debo, Pittman, Ayuk. So the very easy move if we could make it at wide receiver. And again, this is going to be much easier said than done. Can we do a 2-for-1 upgrade? Can I send Calvin Ridley and Devontae Adams and go get Ladd McConkey? Can I send Devonta Smith and Devontae Adams and go get A.J. Brown? Go get Drake London? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you can only start 4 wide receivers at the very most. Kenneth Walker is going to be in a flex spot for us. So realistically, you're only ever going to start 3 wide receivers. So we're going to be starting Adams, Smith, and then one of Egbuka, Ridley, Olave, Debo, Pittman. So like that's solid in a best ball league because we can assume that one of them is going to have a random spike and we are just going to be dominating every single week. But in your regular redraft league, how the hell are we going to determine who that's going to be? How are we submitting our starting lineup? that would be extremely difficult. And I would really like to try to just avoid that headache with our start sit decisions. Going over to what we have at tight end, we are currently sitting with Kyle Pitts. Another thing that we could try to do is there a world that where we can sell Devontae Adams for George Kittle? Is there a world I can sell Calvin Ridley for Sam Laporta? I mean, I would love to go through and I'd love to just sell one of these wide receiver depth pieces to be able to go and upgrade at tight end if we can't do the 2-for-1 wide receiver upgrade. But honestly, you have so many viable wide receiver starters that you could do multiple of those deals. You can go and trade Ridley for, you can go trade Egbuka or Ridley for Laporta. And at the same time, you could still afford to go through and trade Devonta Smith and Devontae Adams to go and get AJ Brown. So I would try to do multiple of those deals. I think if you're not able to get a tight end upgrade, there is an outside chance that you just end up having to go to the waiver wire. And I would not pot commit yourself to Kyle Pitts all season. If you really like Pitts, see what he does early, but potentially pivot to a waiver wire option like Ferguson or Jonnu. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Okay, so let's move this over. Our next team's going to be YPTH. And Kun says, with the Flock Pass, I get a free team review, correct? No, you do not get a free team review with the Flock Pass. You will see what you get with the Flock Pass here. You get access to all the tools on the site until January 1st, all the updated rankings on the site until January 1st, and you get vouchers for free start sit trade questions, but you do not get a free roster review voucher. If you wanted a free roster review voucher, that would come with the annual Mother Flocker membership, which would get you a free roster review, and it would get you access to the website for 365 days a year, not just until January 1st. And the annual Mother Flocker is a subscription that charges every year. The season pass is not a subscription. It is just a one-time payment. But if you have the season pass and you use code FLOCK when you got it, you should get 30% off a roster review from me. But let's move this over to YPTH again. Appreciate you, my friend. And here we have by far and away the best team in the league. You can see this with the league analyzer. We have 21,000 points. The team at the bottom is 12,000. Like, this is hilarious. You never see something like this going into the season. Typically, this will be like what most teams look like with the league analyzer halfway through the year, where we've had injuries decimating some squads. We've had random breakouts, vaulting some other teams to the top. Here, quarterback, we have Caleb and Drake May. So this is the one position where we are not super strong. Now, the thing is that's nice is it's a start 8 format. So you can get up to 4 wide receivers in your starting lineup. We're going to be starting a combined 6 running backs and receivers in this league. So we can get away with having a little bit of a weaker quarterback room if that means we're absolutely dominating in the flex spots. Running back, we have Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, 2 very strong RB1s. We have Pollard, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt at running back. So we have a running back that's going to have all the projected volume early. Wide receiver, we have the elite name with Jamar Chase. We have London wide receiver 2. That's incredible. We have McMillan, DJ Moore, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3. That's incredible. Travis Hunter, wide receiver 5. Matthew Golden, wide receiver 6. And we have Kincaid at tight end. The fact of the matter is your team is too good not to make a trade. Like, if we submit your starting lineup for week 1, we have Chase Brown, Bucky Irving in it. We have Chase London in it. We have Pollard and DJ Moore in it. So week 1, you have Ted McMillan, Travis Hunter, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Matthew Golden all on the bench. So for me, I think you need to go out there and you need to try to get yourself an elite quarterback. You need to try to get yourself an elite tight end. Other potential moves that you can make, like especially if you can make 2-for-1 deals, Jaden Reed sitting out there on the waiver wire for you for free. Like, I would honestly cut Nick Chubb and go pick up Jaden Reed right now. The thing is, that's going to be difficult with me telling you to do that as well. Jaden Reed's like a great ad in most leagues where you have multiple flex spots and you can start up to 4 receivers. Here, your team is just so freaking good that it's going to be difficult for me to say like, oh, that's a no-brainer move for you. because like Jaden Reed's not going to get into your starting lineup. But if you were to get Reed onto this roster, it just makes your wide receivers that much more expendable. So here are a bunch of offers I'm sending out because your team is too good. Drake London and Dalton Kincaid for Brock Bowers. Send it. Tet McMillan and Caleb Williams for Jalen Hurts. Tet McMillan and Caleb Williams for Jaden Daniels. DJ Moore and Caleb Williams for Jalen Hurts. DJ Moore and Caleb Williams for Jaden Daniels. And obviously you can flip Caleb and May, whoever they want. If you get rejected on that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to see if we can send Tony Pollard, Tet McMillan. What's the best running back we can get? Can we send Tony Pollard and Tet McMillan with the injury to Tajay Spears? And can we get to the tier of running backs that goes at the 2-3 turn? Guys like Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. You already have Bucky Irving and Chase Brown there. But we're doing anything we can to squeeze out wide receiver value in trades to go get that elite tight end, to go get that elite quarterback, or to go upgrade over Pollard. Because Pollard's like a smash in your flex spots early on in your league for the first month when you have no Spears. But once Spears comes back, can I be that confident that Pollard's going to be a much better play for you than like DJ Moore in a full PPR format? Probably not. So you have a phenomenal team. You have a ton of value. Drop Nick Chubb, pick up Jaden Reed, do anything you can to sell London for Bowers, sell Tet and a quarterback to go get a QB upgrade, sell DJ Moore and Tony Pollard to go get a running back upgrade. You probably don't want to make all three of those moves, but I'm just giving you a bunch of options because I know the majority of your offers are going to get rejected. That's just the fact of the matter in fantasy football. And if we can just get one or two of them through, that'd be phenomenal. But I really appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And let me move over and answer some of the quick questions. These are the trade, start, sit, and super messages. This one coming up from Celerus. We need a starting lineup here. Wide receiver, we're going to be going ahead playing Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin week 1. We're going to go with Evan Ingram over Tyler Warren week 1. Tyler Warren rest of season for sure. These running backs aren't startable. I'm going to go Tet McMillan, and I'll play Olave over Ridley because Ridley does have to play the Denver Broncos the first week. Now, D's nuts. Quarterback, we're going to go Kyler over Goff, assuming it's a 4-point passing touchdown format. And then for the flex spot, I'm a little bit hesitant to play Hunter week 1 before we actually see what the routes look like. So we're going to take Rome Odunze, and we'll see what the role looks like for Hunter. Now, I've been him coming through. This is a trade. Says, would you do this trade to get London as wide receiver 2? So Bowers to London, lateral move. Caleb to Andrews, lateral move. If you love London, you can do it. I would say that since this is a 2 wide receiver 1 flex format, in a lot of instances, I would probably rather just have the elite tight end with Bowers. But it is going to be up to you there, especially if Jacoby Myers gets dealt. But London's been a massive riser with the Mooney injury. Now, Ethan coming through here for the flex. I think Marvin Harrison just going to be your lock in a full PPR format. I know Tracy's interesting given Cam Scadaboo starting a little slow with a hamstring, though. Now, Coin Farmer here, tight end, definitely start Sam Laporta over Kyle Pitts. Wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall would be the best guy to get in. Running back, Pollard would be the best guy to get in. Honestly, week 1, I think I may start Pollard over Breece Hall with no Tajay Spears. I'd be a little hesitant because of the matchup against Denver, though. Here, Trey is trading Jalen Warren for Tyler Warren. Kyle Pitts is a complete zero for me. I'd rather have Tyler Warren over Jalen Warren if you need a tight end. Jalen Warren's going to be the starting running back for the Steelers early in the season, but we assume he's going to lose the job at some point. Money Mitch trading Jaden Blue for Byshell Tootin. We're going to go with Tootin, especially with Jaden Blue dealing with the ankle injury. Prados is super flex, should improve my running back room. So Olave to Rice, give me Rice. Swift and JSN, give me Jonathan Taylor over them in a 10-team league. So yeah, let's go get the combination of Taylor and Rashee Rice. Okay, let's move this back over to team reviews. Well, first, let's see if there are any more quick questions that came in. Asaf says, want a tight end, they need a receiver. Any other options to buy a tight end? I would definitely go ahead. I'd definitely take Tyler Warren over Evan Ingram here in that spot. If you wanted to send like Drake London for Bowers, that could be a play as well. But honestly, you aren't strong enough at wide receiver to do that. So I think a small move of Keon Coleman to Tyler Warren makes a lot of sense. Bigsby is big, trading Tet McMillan for Bo Nix and Rashee Rice. I'm going to keep Tet McMillan here. I don't think Bo Nix is in the caliber of quarterbacks that I want to be going out of my way and trading for in a 10-team league. Like Bo Nix is like my QB 9 in my rankings, which in a 10-team league, it's crazy to say, but it's not going to be that far off in comparison to what you have with like a streamer in a 10-teamer. Okay, let me refresh this one more time. See if we have any quick hitting questions coming in. King was taken. Says, who is the worst running back you'd give Marv and Caleb for? Let me just pull up my running back rankings real quick. Because I would, if we need a running back here, which I know we looked at your team previously, and this was the trade that we came up with. I would go ahead and I would take the Kyron side of this. So looking at my running back rankings, is Hampton the worst running back? Hampton's the worst running back I would do this for. Any running back that's RB 13 higher or in my rankings, I would trade the combination of Marv and Caleb for on your team specifically. Okay, so let's move this back and let's pull up some teams. Okay, so Rock V is our next person. So let's check this out. It says, took a couple of risks in this draft. Went with Lamar over Bucky at the 302 and Hunter over Sutton at the 502. What are your thoughts? I'd guess beef up the wide receiver room, but anyone in particular to move up for an early upgrade. So first thing is you are sitting with the number one team in the league analyzer. You're in a really good spot. Even if you didn't make a move from here, you are going to have the best team in your league. Second thing is it's a 12-team format where it looks like there's a respectable amount of bench spots. So the options on the waiver wire aren't phenomenal for you here. Here at quarterback, we have Lamar Jackson. So obviously we don't need a backup quarterback. We are sitting pretty here. Running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Chase Brown, Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson, Byshell Tootin, Jerome Ford, Ollie Gordon. Seems like people are a lot higher in rostering Ollie Gordon than I am. I'm fine with you rostering Ollie Gordon if these are your waiver wire options at running back, but I do expect that you should have HN good to go week one. What I really like about what we're doing structurally with your team is it's a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and it's a half PPR format. So with this context, it is a spot in which you really should be expecting that we are just going to be loading up on as many bench running backs as possible to try to find somebody that can actually turn into a league winning option like Bucky Irving or Chase Brown from last season. Like the wide receivers on your bench are going to have a hard time to see that in the range of outcomes here in a half PPR 2 wide receiver 1 flex league. So I love that we are rostering these guys like Byshell Tootin, Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson. Wide receiver, we have the weakest wide receiver room in this league. We have Travis Hunter, George Pickens, Igbuka, Roman Unse, Josh Downs. The fact of the matter is, though, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR format. So if this was like a league where you had multiple flex spots or you had to start 3 wide receivers, I'd say, you know what? Yeah. You know what, man? I think we need to go out there. I think we need to upgrade from George Pickens to get a better wide receiver 1. I think we need to upgrade from Travis Hunter to get a better wide receiver 1. I think we need a better flex play. Here in your format specifically, I think you've done a great job of building your team out with a lot of these players that have wide ranges of outcomes where we could just absolutely get a massive lead on our opponents with what we have at quarterback with Lamar Jackson and the anchor running backs of Bijan, Chase Brown. And then honestly be a little bit lackluster with our wide receiver position and our wide receiver depth. And the fact of the matter is you do have a crazy high ceiling with these guys still with Travis Hunter, Pickens, Igbuka, Rome, Downs, all having wide ranges of outcomes. Of course, we're going to expect that maybe 2 or 3 of these receivers turn into bust. But if we have 2 or 3 of them turning into the top end range of outcomes where Travis Hunter is the top 10 wide receiver this year, and we have Igbuka looking like a top 20 option. Like you could be fine at receiver and then crush your league mates at quarterback and running back. And we still have the upside with the running back depth. So to be honest with you, love it. I think that this is a great team. I would have probably gone Sutton over Hunter, but if you wanted to take on the risk and you wanted to go Travis Hunter, I'm not going to fault you for it. I mean, in the Flock League, Travis Hunter went ahead of Cortland Sutton as well, I believe. So I really like your team. I wish I had a lot that I could say here for improvements, but I just simply don't, to be honest. You're number one in the league analyzer for a reason. Now, here's what we're going to do. I am starving. I have eaten nothing today. It's 3:30. Y'all can maybe tell that I'm getting a little antsy. So I will be live streaming tonight doing underdog drafts. I really hope I can see you there. I am going to premiere our newest video that is dropping today right now. I will try to go over to the live chat as I eat, and I will try to answer some of your questions in this live video chat. So if you click on the channel from the live stream you're watching, click on Flock Fantasy. One, make sure you are subscribed already if you are not. You will see that there is a new video premiering that is 10 breakouts that could break fantasy football. So that video is premiering. I will try my best to answer questions in that comment section as I eat lunch, but I'm starving. I got to go. And I'll see y'all in that comment section. And again, a reminder, it is not too late if you want to get access to all our rankings all year, all the tools on the site, including the trade calculator, trade finder, range of outcomes, player comparison, my teams page. You want to get access to all the draft sheets, custom rankings for your exact league settings. You're going to be updated this Friday as well. It's all with the flockfantasy.com season pass. $34 gets you access to everything. It's a one-time payment. It's not even a subscription. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get free vouchers for me to answer your start set and your trade questions in the live streams we're doing every day. But I appreciate you, and I really hope I get to see you out with that video premiere in just right now. The video is premiering this second, and I'm going to head